From a blind date came a sister who is a CEO. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 726, Borrowing a Boyfriend. You think I'm up to no good? Tell me, why are you looking for me? Su Weifeng said with a look of contempt. There is something. One of my best friends is getting married. She is my best friend in college, so I must go. Then you go. Su Weifeng had a bad feeling and pretended to be fine. I heard from my best friend that many classmates will go, and they will go with their partners. It will be so embarrassing if I'm the only single dog. Feng Bao looked at Su Weifeng with ill intentions. So, Su Weifeng looked like he had nothing to do with it. So you have to accompany me and pretend to be my boyfriend again? Feng Bao said as a matter of course. Why me? I'm not your boyfriend. You have slept with me for so many days, and you have seen everything on my body. You still touched me, so you have to be responsible for me. Feng Bao said loudly, regardless of people passing by. Keep your voice down. Keep your voice down. I promise you. I promise you. Okay. Su Weifeng covered Feng Bao's mouth and said helplessly. Many eyes gathered around, and some passers-by even slowed down their pace to see if there was anything more erotic and exciting. That's about right. Feng Bao said happily with a look of success. Little devil, I really can't get you down. Time and place. Su Weifeng really wanted to slap the plump bulge behind. The wedding date is this weekend. Cassidy, tonight's train ticket. I have bought you. Just follow me. Food and accommodation. Su Weifeng's legs softened, and he almost fell down. Where are you talking about? Cassidy? The Cassidy on the border? Su Weifeng said with his mouth wide open and trembling, afraid that he had heard it wrong. You got it right, that one. Feng Bao said approvingly. Can I not go? Su Weifeng said as he tried to retreat, but Feng Bao hugged his arm. You've already promised me. Don't go back on your word. Feng Bao glared at Su Weifeng. Bao, that place is really a long way from our Yangcheng, and the train will take several days. Su Weifeng had been there on a mission before. There was a large desert next door, and it was so hot that he didn't want to suffer. At 11:05 p.m., on the train from Yangcheng to Cassidy, Su Weifeng lay on the lower bunk with a look of despair on his face. He didn't want to come, but couldn't stand Feng Bao's soft and hard tactics, so he called Lin Zhuangxun and asked to borrow Qin Weifeng for a few days as a temporary boyfriend. Lin Zhuangxun really lent it generously, and also told Feng Bao that she could try it first, and it would be fine to be a formal boyfriend after the trial. Feng Bao, the uninhibited policewoman, was so scared that she didn't dare to accept it. Lin Zhuangxun now wanted more women to help Su Weifeng heal his injuries. How could Su Weifeng not know Lin Zhuangxun's feelings? He could only smile bitterly in his heart. At this time, Su Weifeng and Feng Bao were on the train to Cassidy. Feng Bao wanted to take a plane, but there were few flights to that place, and Feng Bao acted too late. There were no flights in the past week. In addition, there was no high-speed rail there, so he had to take the train slowly. Su Weifeng didn't care. He had experienced all kinds of hardship in the army. Sister Zhuangxun said that you have to perform well when you come here. If you don't work hard, I will punish you when you go back. Feng Bao, who was lying on the bed opposite, whispered when she saw Su Weifeng's absent-minded look. Yes, I will definitely cooperate with you. More real than a real boyfriend. Su Weifeng blinked at Feng Bao and said with a sly smile. Who's afraid of who? Humph. Feng Bao deliberately raised her neck to provoke, but she was a little panicked in her heart. Although she almost had something with Su Weifeng in Africa, it was because the wildness of her body was aroused at that time, and she acted on instinct. Now that she is back in the city, she dare not be reckless. Wow. The hard sleeper on an ordinary train doesn't even have a door, so it's inevitable that there will be noise. At this time, the shrill cry of a child came from the next room, which was particularly obvious in the quiet carriage, and many people who had already fallen asleep were woken up. Why take a sleeper with a child? Can't you let me sleep? Go sit on the hard seat. The voice of a young man came from the next room. His name is Wang Wei. This time he went out to play with his girlfriend Zhuang. He wanted to buy a soft sleeper, but didn't buy one, and he was angry. Now he was woken up by a child, and he was even more angry. It's so annoying. I hate children the most. Another young woman spoke. It was Wang Wei's girlfriend Zhuang. Sorry. The woman holding the child in the lower berth was coaxing the child and apologizing. Judging from her clothes, she should be a rural woman. The child's crying made her nervous. Wow, the child cried louder and louder, and no matter how the woman coaxed him, it was useless. Don't cry, you're crying so miserably because your father died. The young man couldn't bear it anymore. It was really unlucky to be in a carriage with such a child, and he shouted and scolded loudly. Anyone who has taken a train knows that if there are children in a carriage, don't expect to rest peacefully. If several children are in a hole, it will really make people collapse. But even so, most people will not say anything. It is not easy to take a child out. Everyone understands and will take proper care of him. I'm sorry. The woman holding the child has never seen the world and kept apologizing in fear. Conductor, what do you do? How can we sleep with this child crying and howling? I bought a sleeper, not a hard seat. How can I sleep? Zhuang shouted in a sharp voice. Su Weifeng and Feng Bao looked at each other with helplessness in their eyes. How can the quality of young people nowadays be so poor that they can quarrel over such a small matter? I'm the conductor of this carriage. Don't bother with her because the child is so young. It's not easy for everyone to go out. Let's be considerate of each other. The conductor also came over. She had seen a lot of such things and didn't take it seriously. She persuaded. What's wrong with you, conductor? What do you mean we have to understand? We spent extra money. We will understand if you return the money to us. Wang Wei was not happy. If you want to refund the ticket, you can go to the customer service. I can't control it. The conductor was not happy either. You can't be too polite to such a person with no quality. I'll give you two choices. Either you take the child away and don't disturb us here. Otherwise, you give us the sleeper money. We won't ask for more. Just give us the difference of the hard seat. Zhuang pointed at the woman holding the child, her finger almost touching her forehead. Why is this person like this? Isn't this bullying? If there is a man around, see if he dares to do it. That's right, no quality. The people in the carriage were not happy to see the arrogance of the two people, and they were all talking about it. That's enough. You grew up from such a small age. Haven't you cried? Su Weifeng couldn't stand it anymore and walked over and frowned. A bunch of losers. We are not the lowly people like you who sit in hard sleepers. We didn't buy soft sleeper tickets today. Can you afford soft sleepers? Wang Wei said disdainfully in the face of the accusation. Does it matter if you have money? If you have the ability, you can sit in a soft sleeper now. Su Weifeng glared at him. Why are you pretending to be a big shot? Do you still want to stand out? This kid can't be your bastard. Wang Wei said disdainfully. Scumbag, I'll make sure you can't get ivory out of your dog's mouth. Feng Bao came over and was ready to beat Wang Wei. How could Su Weifeng have a bastard? Just hearing this made her angry. The conductor hurriedly grabbed Feng Bao. She also hated this man, but as a conductor, she couldn't let these passengers fight. That would be her dereliction of duty. Go, who do you think you are? What qualifications do you have to talk to me? Get out of the way. Wang Wei spat. Chapter 727 I'm a retiny. What if I don't leave? Su Weifeng sneered. You bastard, I'll make you leave. Wang Wei cursed and punched Su Weifeng in the face. Before Wang Wei's hand hit Su Weifeng's face, Su Weifeng had already grabbed his fist and gradually increased the strength of his hand. Ah, it hurts. Let go. Wang Wei cried out in pain and tried to break free from Su Weifeng's hand, but felt that his hand was clamped by a pair of pliers and could not break free at all. Wang Wei's fist was pinched white and he felt that his fist was about to deform. He was sweating coldly from the pain. You're hitting someone, you're killing someone, someone's coming. Seeing her boyfriend suffer, Zhuang screamed again with a sharp voice, instantly becoming a shrew. Don't fight, or I'll have to call the flight attendant to deal with it. The flight attendant saw the two people fighting and hurriedly shouted. Apologize to her. Su Weifeng did not let go of his hand and glanced at the woman holding the child. Oh, fuck, I'm sorry. Wang Wei still wanted to be tough, but the pain in his hand was unbearable, so he gritted his teeth and said, "And who are you calling a bastard?" Su Weifeng continued to add strength to his hands. It hurts. I am a bastard," Wang Wei said with effort, while baring his teeth. Su Weifeng then withdrew his hand with satisfaction, and looked at Wang Wei with disdain. Wang Wei rubbed his white fist, stared at Su Weifeng with cold eyes, and said with gritted teeth, "Wait for it, kid, I'll remember you, you'd better be careful. You'll regret it, if you mess with us," Zhu Ying said with a timid look on her face. Her boyfriend had suffered a loss, so she really didn't dare to mess with Su Weifeng too much on this train. Seeing that Wang Wei and the other person were no longer arguing, everyone returned to their seats to rest. The conductor also returned to the duty room and secretly gave a thumbs up when passing by Su Weifeng and Feng Bao's bed. They really deserve a beating. They are just two scumbags. Feng Bao was still angry and said angrily, "Come on, Bao, don't be angry. Isn't it lowering our status to be angry with scumbags?" Su Weifeng said with a smile. He really couldn't be angry with such people. He was not qualified at all. Humph, you are angry at that. Just think of it as a dog barking in front of you. Just spare this beast. Su Weifeng comforted the violent policewoman. Su Weifeng didn't care about this little episode. It was like a lion tripped by an ant. He couldn't lie on the ground and step on the ant to death. That would be a very idle lion. How can they compare with dogs? Dogs are so cute. Feng Bao thought about it and smiled. The train gradually became quiet at midnight. Most of the passengers had fallen asleep. Suddenly, the broadcast on the train sounded. "Someone is sick in the number 3 soft sleeper car. Which passenger is a doctor? Please come to the number 3 car. Please go to the number 3 car. Someone is sick in the number 3 soft sleeper car. Which passenger is a doctor? Please come to the number 3 car. Please go to the number 3 car. Someone is sick in the number 3 soft sleeper car. Which passenger is a doctor? Please come to the number 3 car. Please go to the number 3 car." The female voice on the radio was speaking very quickly. The passengers were also infected by this emotion. Many people's heartbeats began to accelerate. Su Weifeng immediately stood up and was about to go to the soft sleeper car. Feng Bao followed closely. As a policeman, the awareness of protecting people's safety has been engraved in his bones. The two came to the number 3 car and saw a white-haired old man lying on the ground. Several crew members were surrounding him and anxiously calling the old man. "What's the situation now?" Su Weifeng called out to attract the attention of several people. "Are you a doctor?" A woman with a crew long armband asked anxiously. It sounded like the woman on the radio just now. "Please come this way. Let's see what happened to this old man." He suddenly fell off the bed and didn't respond, no matter how we called him. We were afraid that he had a heart attack. We first gave him a heart-saving pill, but there was no response. The chief conductor quickly introduced the situation to Su Weifeng. "Passengers, please go back to your own carriages if you are fine. Don't gather here. There are patients here now, and they need quiet." The conductor of carriage number 3 saw that many passengers from other carriages came in at the door of the carriage and hurriedly blocked them out. Feng Bao was a step slower and was blocked outside like these people. "Let me pass, I'm his assistant," Feng Bao shouted, pointing at Su Weifeng and getting in. A bunch of onlookers saw that Feng Bao, a beautiful woman in leather clothes and leather pants, didn't look like a doctor at all. Instead, she looked like a queen. "Nurse. Doctor and nurse?" Many people looked at Su Weifeng with ambiguous eyes. Su Weifeng carefully examined the old man. His face was red, but not rosy, but flushed. From this point of view, the possibility of heart disease is high. He put his hand on the old man's wrist. His pulse was so thin that it was almost unnoticeable if he didn't pay attention. "Hey, a Chinese medicine doctor is taking the pulse. This is a matter of life and death. Is it time for you to cheat money?" A young voice sounded, interrupting Su Weifeng, who was in deep thought. From the voice, it was Wang Wei, the scumbag. Su Weifeng ignored him and continued to take the pulse of the old man. When several flight attendants saw that Su Weifeng was a Chinese medicine doctor, their faces suddenly became ugly. It's not that everyone didn't believe in Chinese medicine, but Chinese medicine is good at conditioning, slowly treating both the symptoms and the root cause. But this old man was obviously in an acute illness. If he was not treated well, he would pass away in minutes. There was no time for a Chinese medicine doctor to slowly regulate him. I'm a doctor. I graduated from a famous medical university abroad and just returned from studying abroad. Wang Wei said loudly. If he hadn't just seen his true face, Su Weifeng would have thought he was some young talent. My boyfriend rejected the temptation of a high salary abroad and came back to my country to make contributions. Please move aside and let my boyfriend see him, Zhu Ying said arrogantly. At this time, her aura returned and she felt superior. Rejected the temptation of a high salary? Maybe he couldn't find a job outside. Someone whispered behind him, but everyone heard it. Some people laughed in agreement. Wang Wei's face was not good. He looked back at the crowd watching the excitement and didn't say anything, but everyone could see the anger in his eyes. He was really angry. How could these people guess so accurately? He came back because he couldn't find a job. Sir, I'm sorry, let's ask this gentleman to see first. He is a Western doctor, the chief steward said to Su Weifeng a little embarrassedly. He had just asked Su Weifeng to see a doctor, and now he asked him to give up his seat. The chief steward was also embarrassed. How could you do this? Brother Feng will definitely be able to cure him. Feng Bao was completely convinced of Su Weifeng's medical skills. No matter how serious the injuries were during the special training, they were all healed under Su Weifeng's magical touch and herbs. Su Weifeng never told her that it was true Qi, otherwise Feng Bao, a violent maniac, would have pestered him to teach her. Get out of the way quickly. If you delay the patient, can you afford to have an accident? Zhu Ying shouted from behind. Su Weifeng glanced at Wang Wei, stood up directly, and stood with Feng Bao. Feng Bao wanted to say something, but Su Weifeng patted her shoulder, indicating that she was fine, and then watched Wang Wei's performance indifferently. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 728 Silver Needle Breaking Blood. Wang Wei came to the old man in a dignified manner, squatted down, turned over the old man's eyelids, and pinched the old man's body. Who has a blood pressure monitor? Wang Wei said to the flight attendant in a deep voice. We have one here. A flight attendant hurriedly handed over an electronic blood pressure monitor, which is a common device for flight attendants to prevent emergencies. Blood pressure 120, 190, heart rate 120. Wang Wei reported the measurement results, and he was also panicked. Now he must lower the blood pressure, otherwise the patient's heart will definitely not be able to bear it. Although his character is not very good, his medical skills are still acceptable. The patient's heart has a problem. It is likely a heart attack. Give him a heart-saving pill first. There is no other equipment now, and there is no way to confirm it. Wang Wei shouted loudly. I have taken it just now, and there is no improvement. A flight attendant hurriedly said. Wang Wei was also panicked. He didn't know what to do without medical equipment. According to experience, when the elderly have an emergency, taking a heart-saving pill will have some effect. Where are the patient's family members? Does he have any underlying diseases? Wang Wei said with a forced calm. The old man was traveling by himself, without his family members. The conductor responded. This is difficult. Without medical equipment, I can't check the specific cause of the disease, and can't provide treatment. The patient doesn't even have any family members, and I don't know what diseases he had before. Wang Wei frowned, as if he was talking to himself, but in fact he wanted to let everyone know that it was not his medical skills that were bad, but the objective conditions. How about I take a look? Su Weifeng said softly. My boyfriend, who graduated from a key medical school abroad, couldn't see it. What are you, a barefoot Chinese medicine doctor, looking at it? It's a waste of time. Zhu Ying said disdainfully. Then let our Chinese medicine doctor take a look. Maybe the medicine can cure the disease. Wang Wei stood up and gave way to Su Weifeng, saying in a gloomy way. Wang Wei had no choice. Instead of being embarrassed and stared at by others, he might as well let this damn kid take a look. It was also a way to get rid of the blame. When the old man is no longer able to do it, he will have to find this kid to settle the score. Su Weifeng put his palm on the old man's heart this time, and then began to move his palm over the old man's body. Su Weifeng used his true energy this time. His previous guess was correct. The old man did have blood vessels blocked, and there were more than one. The most serious one was on his head, and it was this blockage that caused the old man to fall into a coma. Su Weifeng took out a small bamboo tube more than 1 foot long from his pocket and poured out a silver needle from it. The length of this silver needle was about the same as that of an ordinary silver needle, but the thickness was more than twice that of an ordinary silver needle. Damn, silver needle, the legendary silver needle acupuncture. A young man who often reads fantasy novels shouted excitedly. "Shut up, be quiet." A middle-aged man slapped him, and it was a bit embarrassing to see his son startled. "Swindler, did you do this randomly? Can you take responsibility if you kill someone?" Wang Wei scolded him harshly. "That's right, you can cause trouble, even if there is nothing wrong." Zhu Ying also echoed. "What do you know? Do you know Chinese martial arts? This is a treasure passed down by our ancestors." Feng Bao was not to be outdone. "This old man has already formed a blood clot in his brain. If it is not cleared in time, the blood vessels will soon rupture." Su Weifeng said in a deep voice. He was telling the truth. Regardless of whether the old man's heart can hold on, a blood clot has already formed in his head. If it is not treated, the blood vessels will soon rupture and form a cerebral hemorrhage. With the medical conditions on the train, there is no way to treat him by then. "What do you mean?" Su Weifeng looked at the chief steward. "Are you sure?" The chief steward and several stewards looked at each other, their eyes full of suspicion, and they said with some worry, "Not sure." Su Weifeng said without disguising. The chief steward did not expect Su Weifeng to be so confident. "Even if you give me some hope and say 50% sure, it will be fine. But I'm sure that he can't hold on for a few minutes." Su Weifeng said seriously. "Okay, please make sure to cure the old man." The flight attendant still made a prompt decision. She also knew that the current situation could not be delayed. It was better to have hope than to wait for death. After saying this, she sat down on the stool beside her. After making the decision, she was relieved. She knew that if something happened, she would not be able to escape, but she still could not leave her passengers alone. Su Weifeng twisted the silver needle in his hand and pierced it steadily into the blocked blood vessel. He then attached the silver needle with true energy, slowly inserted it into the location of the blood clot, and gently vibrated it. Because the old man's blood vessels were already very fragile, Su Weifeng had to use his true energy to vibrate the blood clot, while also using a part of his true energy to protect this blood vessel from rupture. This kind of delicate control was also a severe test for his spirit. "You wait for the responsibility. You still dare to believe this quack doctor at this time?" Wang Wei said to the flight attendants with disdain. "Shut up." Before the flight attendant spoke, the middle-aged man who had just scolded the young man spoke, staring at Wang Wei sternly. Not only the middle-aged man, but also the onlookers stared at him, and the flight attendants didn't look at him well. Wang Wei opened his mouth, but didn't say anything. It was obviously not a wise choice to offend the public at this time. The sweat on Su Weifeng's head had already flowed down his face. Now no one dared to disturb him. Suddenly, Su Weifeng pulled out the silver needle, and a little blood flowed out from the needle hole. A flight attendant screamed, and quickly covered his mouth. Su Weifeng sat down on the ground, almost exhausted. Feng Bao quickly squatted down, and let Su Weifeng lean on her, and use the tissue to wipe his sweat. What am I going to say?" Wang Wei was about to make a sarcastic remark, when he saw the old man suddenly move, slowly opened his eyes, and looked around blankly. "What's wrong with me?" The old man was a little confused when he saw so many people surrounding him. "Yeah, great." Feng Bao hugged Su Weifeng's head and kissed him hard. "Okay, a miracle doctor. I will be a fan of Chinese medicine from now on." "Aren't you a fan of Chinese medicine?" "I can't change from a hater to a fan." "Thank you, doctor." There was applause and cheers all around. Everyone's impression of Chinese medicine was still at the stage of feeling the pulse and prescribing medicine. They would not believe its application in rescue unless they saw it with their own eyes. It was amazing that a silver needle saved the old man with cerebral thrombosis. Several flight attendants thanked him repeatedly, and the chief steward also breathed a sigh of relief. At this time, the old man also learned about the incident from the chief steward. He also knew about his own situation. He had already made an appointment to have a stent in half a month, but he didn't expect to get sick before the operation. If he hadn't met Su Weifeng this time, he would have died on this train. The old man wanted Su Weifeng's mobile phone number, and he would definitely repay Su Weifeng after returning home, but Su Weifeng decisively refused. He didn't save the old man for money, but his personality changed when he asked for money. He gave the old man a few more instructions, asking him to go for surgery as soon as possible, and then left with the help of Feng Baoer. The crowd watching the excitement at the door took the initiative to make way for Su Weifeng and applauded again. As for Wan Wei and Zhu Ying, they were embarrassed by everyone's gaze and had already hurriedly slipped out. This is what a doctor should be like, not for fame or profit. Yes, look at that turtle just now. What a thing. No medical ethics at all. Domestic doctors are still better. The onlookers were still discussing, and when they return home, they had something new to talk about with their relatives and friends. Chapter 729 Special Breakfast. Under the sunshine of the early morning, after 3 days of bumpy ride, the train finally arrived at the final stop, Kashi. Su Weifeng's back and waist were already sore, and he was exhausted even when lying down. People who have never slept in bed cannot understand this. All the joints in his body seemed to be rusted, and he felt uncomfortable everywhere. Finally arrived. If we don't get to the station, I will die on the train, Feng Baoer said, while rubbing her sore waist. Oh my god, there is no one in the square in front of the train station, and there are soldiers standing guard. This is more high class than Beijing, Feng Baoer said with wide eyes, as soon as she walked out of the exit. You are still a policeman. Do you have any common sense? This is not high class. The situation here is special, and the control is stricter. It is not like Yangcheng here, so you have to be careful, Su Weifeng said seriously. Ah, now you mention it, I remember it too. I've heard about it before, but I didn't expect it to be so tense. I was indeed tense before, but now it's better. But it's also a precautionary measure, just like the border guards. Even if the outpost is next door, they may not see a foreigner in a year, but daily training and guard duty are also indispensable. The duty of a soldier is to defend the country and be prepared at all times. Okay, I'm hungry. Brother Feng, please treat me to something delicious. Feng Baoer's stomach growled. Her best friend had told her that there are many special snacks here that are very delicious. Just thinking about it made her even hungrier. Su Weifeng was the same. He had been lying down for the past few days and his metabolism had slowed down. As soon as he got out of the car and started moving, he immediately felt hungry. I'll take you to eat something special. Follow me. Su Weifeng smiled and walked out first. This is what you call a specialty. Isn't it just an ordinary breakfast shop? At this time, the two were sitting in a small shop in front of the train station. The shop was not large, but fortunately it was clean and tidy, but it could be seen that the decoration and seats of the shop were very old. You can't have this in Yangcheng. Boss, I'll give you 2 bowls of milk tea and 6 steamed buns. I'll let you taste the authentic milk tea. Su Weifeng smiled mysteriously. Really? We don't have it in Yangcheng. It's just milk tea and steamed buns. Feng Baoer looked unconvinced. There were only Su Weifeng and Feng Baoer at the table. Soon, the fat boss, who weighed more than 250 kilograms, came to the table with steaming hot milk tea and square-shaped steamed buns. After taking a bite of the bun and tasting some milk tea, Feng Baoer's eyes lit up, and she immediately praised it. Sure enough, we don't have it in Yangcheng, but why does this milk tea taste salty? It feels weird, Feng Baoer said with some doubts. In her impression, milk tea should be sweet. Our milk tea is a drink, but here it is for breakfast. It is made from tea bricks and then added with fresh goat milk and salt. People here would rather go without food for a day than go without tea. Drinking it often can strengthen the body, Su Weifeng explained. He had been here for a while before and was familiar with the customs here. Boss, you can't have such a good figure because you drink milk tea every day. Feng Bao couldn't help but glance at the fat boss inside after hearing Su Weifeng's words and lowered her voice. Although the breakfast was simple, Su Weifeng and Feng Bao were very satisfied with it, and the taste was very authentic. Boss, how much is it in total? Feng Bao said, while patting her belly. A total of 1,000 yuan, and the tableau fee is waived for you. The fat boss came out with a smile, and two sturdy young men followed behind him, also looking at Su Weifeng with a smile on their faces. Boss, this account is not right. Su Weifeng tapped the large porcelain bowl of milk tea with chopsticks. What's wrong? We are an authentic century-old shop. Would we charge you more? The smile on the fat boss's face disappeared. It says here that a bun is 5 yuan and a bowl of milk tea is 8 yuan. Our 6 buns plus 2 bowls of milk tea should be 46, right? Su Weifeng pointed to the price list on the wall. Those are the prices from 10 years ago, and what you eat is not the ordinary beef buns. The buns you eat are 100 yuan each, and the milk tea is 200 yuan per bowl, which is exactly 1,000 yuan. You are too shady. This bun is 100 yuan. Is it filled with human flesh? Su Weifeng's face also sank. He was in a bad mood when he encountered a shady shop as soon as he came. My meat filling is wild yak meat. How much manpower and material resources are needed to catch one? Do you know how much the cost is? Charging you 100 yuan per piece is the cost price. The fat boss vowed. So your milk tea is also wild yak milk? Feng Bao said angrily. Little girl, you are lucky to be able to eat this wild food. Most people want to eat it but can't. You can brag to your friends when you go home. The fat boss said proudly. Wild food can't be eaten, right? It's illegal for you to sell wild animals. Feng Bao said loudly. You said wild food is wild? It's wild when you eat it, but it's not wild when we sell it. I advise you that when you are in a foreign land, money is nothing but your possessions. It's still worthwhile to spend a little money to avoid disaster. The fat boss took another step closer and said fiercely. The two young men behind him also walked to the door and blocked their way. It's true that poor mountains and bad waters produce unruly people. The black shop has even become the police. Feng Bao slammed the table and stood up, ready to fight if they didn't agree. Police? Why didn't I see it? They are from other places. They can't work here. Even if you are a dragon, you have to coil here. The fat boss glanced at Su Weifeng and thought he was talking about the police. He was not a local at first glance. The difference in pronunciation was obvious. I can pay what I should pay, but I won't pay a penny more. Su Weifeng also stood up and looked at the fat boss coldly. It seems that if I don't teach you a lesson, you really don't take my word seriously. Come on, brothers. The fat boss kicked Su Weifeng. Although the fat boss is fat, he is not bulky. On the contrary, his physical advantage has strong explosive power. He has seen many people from other places. Many of them are very tough at the beginning, but they still pay the bill after being beaten. His shop is to make money by cheating customers from other places. Su Weifeng sneered and punched the fat boss's calf, hitting the calf bone. The square hat boss fell to the ground with a cry, holding his calf and wailing. Why are you screaming? It's not broken yet. Su Weifeng only used 20% of his strength. He just wanted to teach him a lesson. Unexpectedly, the man screamed like a pig being slaughtered. He thought he was a ruthless person, but he turned out to be an embroidered pillow. The two young men behind also rushed over, but they fell down before Feng Bao could even get through. The two young men were just ordinary people with strong bodies. With Feng Bao's current skills, she could fight black market boxing without any problems, but she couldn't even kick such ordinary people. Are you too deaf? You just came out. What are you doing? Chop him up for me. The fat boss shouted angrily. Chapter 730. Officials protect each other. Hearing the noise outside, two men with kitchen knives ran out of the kitchen. When they saw the boss lying on the ground howling, they were shocked and wanted to rush over, but they were a little hesitant. They were not professional gangsters. They usually just scared the out-of-town customers, but they didn't dare to use knives. Why are you standing there? Go ahead. Do you want to do it? The two men saw that the boss was angry and couldn't do anything, so they rushed towards Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng didn't even leave his feet. He punched one by one and quickly resolved the fight. He knocked them to the ground and then looked at the fat boss calmly. The fat boss knew that this time he was in trouble. He had only a few people in his store and now he was completely wiped out. You are finished. You are in trouble. You are in big trouble. The fat boss said viciously. Oh, I want to see what big trouble we have caused. Su Weifeng said disdainfully. Ah, someone is killing someone. Help me. Someone is killing someone. The fat boss shouted at the top of his voice, and several waiters followed suit. Feng Bao and Su Weifeng looked at each other, both a little confused. Normally, in this situation, shouldn't they call for help? Why did they shout for help? Keep your voice down. It's shaking me to death. Su Weifeng covered his ears, his head full of black lines. At this time, 2 patrolmen holding blast shields passed by the door. The fat boss screamed even more miserably. It's not in vain that he has such a big body. His voice is as loud as a subwoofer, which immediately attracted the attention of the police. Don't move. Put down your weapons. The 2 policemen were shocked when they heard that someone was killed. They haven't encountered such a situation for many years. Could it be a terrorist? As policemen, they didn't have time to think about it and rushed in with blast shields and shouted loudly. After entering, they saw the situation inside clearly. 2 young people, a man and a woman, were standing in the store with suitcases, while the remaining 5 people were lying on the ground in a mess. Although they were wailing, they didn't seem to have any serious external injuries. This was different from the murder scene they imagined, and they were relieved. What's going on? What's going on? One of the bearded policemen said to the fat boss. Police comrades, help me. They didn't pay for the meal and beat us up. Look, my legs are broken. The fat boss howled again, but this howl was full of energy and there was no sweat on his face. It was really unconvincing. Hello, I'm Feng Bao, a police officer from Yangcheng. I came here with my boyfriend to do business. This is a black shop. Feng Bao showed her police officer ID and briefly explained what happened. Your store has been complained about so many times. Is this how you rectify it? This time you've even pitted the police. You're getting bolder and bolder. Do you have any background that we don't know about? The bearded policeman narrowed his eyes and stared at the fat boss. He had also received reports about this small shop. He was very disgusted with such people. They seriously damage the local image. No, my small shop doesn't have any background. The fat boss was startled and hurriedly explained. Officer Feng, please come back with us. We will take a statement. The bearded policeman said politely. He did not put on airs for his colleagues, who were also beautiful women. Yes, arrest them all. They must be sentenced. They must be sentenced. The fat boss was excited again. Are you stupid? You were the first to cheat people, and you wanted to attack the police. At most, they were just acting in self-defense. The bearded policeman scolded sternly. If anyone has to go to jail, it should be you. Ah, you officials protect each other. I will sue you. The fat boss found that things were not as he thought, and he was a little panicked. He was just a small person. It was okay to bully outsiders, but he didn't have the courage to go against the government. After a simple communication, Su Weifeng and Feng Bao were not in the mood to waste time with the fat boss, so they left the store directly. The rest of how to deal with the fat boss was left to the local police department. I believe that the bearded policeman would not let him go easily. The 2 of them took a taxi and soon arrived downstairs of their bestie's house. As soon as Su Weifeng and Feng Bao got off the car, a sweet-looking girl in a black silk dress rushed over and hugged Feng Bao. Bao, you're here. I just came downstairs after you called. I missed you so much. We haven't seen each other for many years. The person who spoke was Feng Bao's bestie Jin Fifui. Isn't this me? We agreed not to get married before we were 30 years old. You broke the contract. Feng Bao joked. Then you met Yang, and you can't not get married when you are in love. Is this the reason why you can't do it? Feng Bao pointed at Jin Fifui's belly and laughed. Oh, what nonsense are you talking about? Jin Fifui said a little embarrassedly. Who is this? This is my boyfriend Su Weifeng. Feng Bao just remembered that she hadn't introduced Su Weifeng yet, so she quickly hugged Su Weifeng's arm and introduced him. Hello, my name is Su Weifeng. I often hear Baoa mention you. Today I finally see you in person. You are really a beauty. Su Weifeng took the initiative to extend his hand and shook hands with Jin Fifei, smiling. You are really handsome. You are so unlucky to be favored by our Baoa. Jin Fifei said with a smile. How can you be unlucky to be favored by me? I think you are unlucky. Feng Baoa said as she touched Jin Fifei all over, making Jin Fifei laugh. The two of them played around for a while. I'll take you to the hotel first. You can put your gifts in place first. Wait for Yang to come over at noon and we will have dinner together. The hotel is near Jin Fifei's home. It is a 5-star hotel and one of the best in the area. Jin Fifei has already booked many rooms in advance, all for relatives and friends. Because they are a couple, she only booked a king-size bedroom for Feng Baoa. When they arrived at the place, let Feng Baoa and Su Weifeng rest first. It was tiring to sit on the train for several days. I will go to them for dinner afternoon. Brother Feng, what should we do if there is only one bed? Do you want to sleep on the floor? Feng Baoa felt a little unnatural at this moment. Although they slept together in Africa, it was 3 people and in a tent, but now it was a big bed in the hotel. The atmosphere was a little ambiguous. Why are you afraid that I will eat you? Su Weifeng rolled his eyes. Come on, come on. It's still uncertain who will eat whom. Feng Baoa was not to be outdone and said with her chest puffed out. Then wait until I wake up before eating. Su Weifeng fell on the bed, feeling that his body and the bed had merged into one. The bed in the hotel was more comfortable, and the one on the train was not even a bed. You are rude. I'm going to take a shower, don't peek. Feng Baoa rolled her eyes and went to the bathroom. She hadn't taken a shower for a few days, and a girl couldn't stand it. Do I need to peek? I've seen it all. Su Weifeng muttered in a low voice. Chapter 731 Tequila. At noon, Su Weifeng and Feng Baoa, who were sleeping soundly, were awakened by a phone call. Feng Baoa, who was still half asleep, answered the phone. It was Jin Fifei who called. Her boyfriend had already arrived at the hotel and wanted to treat them to lunch. He had already booked a private room in the hotel. When Su Weifeng and Feng Baoa arrived at the private room, Jin Fifei and a man in a high-end suit were already sitting there. The man had an obvious look of impatience on his face, and he quietly looked at Su Weifeng and Feng Baoa who had just entered the room. Seeing Su Weifeng and Feng Baoa coming, Jin Fifei hurriedly stood up and introduced them to everyone with a smile. Baoa, this is my husband Qin Yang. This is my best friend Baoa, and this is her boyfriend Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng also enthusiastically extended his hand, ready to shake hands with Qin Yang, but Qin Yang was still sitting there, just nodded, and had no intention of getting up to shake hands. Su Weifeng smiled lightly and withdrew his hand, not caring. Su Weifeng looked at the man. He had very fair skin but a hooked nose. He squinted his eyes and looked at Su Weifeng and Feng Baoa. He didn't look kind. Feng Baoa's face was not very good either. This was obviously not giving Su Weifeng face. Su Weifeng was her boyfriend. If he didn't give him face, he would be giving herself face. Everyone, please sit down and order. Baoa will see if there is anything you like. Jin Fifei felt that the atmosphere was a bit awkward, so she quickly changed the topic and asked everyone to order. Let's follow the host's wishes. We are not familiar with this place. You can order. Feng Baoa gestured to Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng shook his head gently and didn't mean to order. Feng Baoa pushed the menu back. Order whatever you want. You probably haven't been to this kind of 5-star hotel. You won't have another chance if you miss this opportunity. Qin Yang didn't know Su Weifeng's background, but he knew that Feng Baoa was a policeman. How much money could a small policeman have? Moreover, seeing that the clothes they were wearing were very ordinary, not the luxury goods that she was familiar with, she did not look down on Su Weifeng. Feng Baoa could no longer hold back and wanted to get angry, but Su Weifeng held her hand and squeezed it gently, so she held back. We have never been to such a high-end hotel, so we will not be polite. Su Weifeng said with a smile. Order whatever you want. The contempt on Qin Yang's face became more obvious. Now he was more certain that Su Weifeng was just a nobody who had never seen the world. He just wanted to let everyone around Jin Fifei know how high his status was. Why should such a nobody be on the same level as him and could only look up to him? Baoa still has lobsters. Let's have a few each. Su Weifeng flipped a page casually, looking surprised, and pointed at the lobsters and said, "This is a lobster. It is not the same thing as the spicy crayfish you eat. You are lucky if you can eat one." Qin Yang said disdainfully. "Then let's have 4. How about 1 each?" Su Weifeng suggested, and looked at Feng Baoa at the same time. "Okay, order." Qin Yang waved his hand and said casually. A few lobsters were nothing to him. "I heard that caviar is not bad either. Let's have a bowl first." Su Weifeng flipped it over and said again, "What bowl? Do you think it's soybean paste? You're eating noodles with a whole bowl." Qin Yang's face darkened. This kid must have done it on purpose. How could he order dishes like this? Caviar is sold by gram, and there are also ounces and portions. This fish roe is different from ordinary fish roe. It's all from French deep sea sturgeon. It's more expensive and the production is also very small. Jin Fifei thought Su Weifeng didn't understand, so she explained it to him. "Weifeng, let's order something cheaper. This one is too expensive." Feng Baoa saw that her best friend was talking, and she was embarrassed to let Su Weifeng make trouble. This was her best friend's treat, and she was embarrassed. Qin Yang felt that he was underestimated when he heard what Jin Fifei and Feng Baoa said. How could this be possible? "Give me 4 servings of caviar, 4 servings of sirloin steak, 4 servings of that snail, and 4 servings of that truffle." Su Weifeng flipped through the menu and pointed at 4 servings from time to time. "Now this meal has at least cost tens of thousands." Feng Baoa quickly pulled Su Weifeng, meaning that it was almost enough. "That's it. You think this is expensive? You are a frog in the well. You can't understand the world of rich people. No, it's completely unimaginable. This kind of dish is just an ordinary meal for me." Qin Yang looked at Su Weifeng with contempt. He saw that this kid deliberately ordered expensive dishes to embarrass him, but unfortunately his vision was too narrow. He thought he couldn't afford it with such a small amount. He still wanted to see himself laugh at himself. He was really ignorant and fearless. He really didn't care about this little money. "Hey, I have tolerated you for a long time. We are here to attend Fifei's wedding, not to be laughed at by you." Feng Baoa was angry and wanted to get up and leave immediately. "Don't be angry, Baoa. Aang has this temper. Don't blame him." Jin Fifei saw her best friend and her husband quarreling so hard and quickly stood up to smooth things over. "Oh, these dishes are cheap, right?" Su Weifeng pushed Feng Baoa to sit down and sneered. "It may be sky high for you, but for me, it may be really cheap." Qin Yang looked at Su Weifeng with interest, waiting for his next reaction. "Don't worry, I haven't ordered the wine yet. I just don't know if you can afford it." Su Weifeng shook his head and said casually, "Haha, what a joke. Is there any wine I can't afford? It's okay for you to order Lafite. I'll treat you to whatever you order today." Lafite is a well-known red wine now, especially the 82 Lafite, which starts at 50,000. Qin Yang guessed what Su Weifeng would order, but this was also within an acceptable range. "Waiter, 1 lister." Qin Yang waved to the waiter, indicating that the hotel was given to Su Weifeng. "No need to look, just give me a bottle of tequila." Su Weifeng didn't take the wine list handed over by the waiter, and ordered with a smile. "What is it? I haven't heard of it. You just made up a random name and pretended to be a fool." Qin Yang looked at Su Weifeng like an idiot. Feng Baoa also looked at Su Weifeng with a puzzled look and didn't understand what Su Weifeng was talking about. "Sir, we do have a bottle of tequila here. How did you know? It's not on our wine list." The waiter looked at Su Weifeng in surprise. Su Weifeng raised his chin at Qin Yang with a provocative meaning. Qin Yang was furious in his heart, feeling that he had lost face. There was actually a wine he didn't know about. Today, he had to see what it was. "Waiter, just give me that tequila," Qin Yang said angrily. "Sir, are you sure you want tequila?" The waiter confirmed with Qin Yang again. "Why are you talking so much nonsense? Don't you understand what I said?" Qin Yang said unhappily. Chapter 732 Pretending to be sick. "Sir, please wait a moment," the waiter said, and ran out, his mouth almost grinning to his ears. "Humph, he can earn more commissions by meeting my big customer today." Qin Yang looked at the waiter who ran out and said disdainfully, He knew that generally, there were commissions for the sale of wine in hotels, and the commission for selling a bottle of wine worth tens of thousands was not small. Soon, the waiter ran in, holding a rosewood tray with a bottle of wine on it. As soon as the wine was served, everyone's attention was attracted. The bottle of wine was in the shape of a conch, and the workmanship was very delicate. It was pure handmade at a glance. The outside of the bottle was made of pure silver, and the weight was definitely not light, at least a few kilograms. The most exaggerated thing was that the bottle was inlaid with dense diamonds. This was not a wine bottle, but a precious jewel. This was just a wine bottle, so how precious must the wine in this bottle be? Feng Bao and Jin Fifei were dazzled by the diamonds on the bottle, but girls like shiny things, so they immediately held the bottle in their hands and looked at it carefully. Idiot, you really thought it was a diamond? It's just broken glass, just trying to attract attention. Qin Yang felt a little uneasy when he saw the bottle. Just looking at the shape of the bottle, it was not an ordinary product. This wine must have cost him hundreds of thousands, but it had come to this point, so he could only swallow his anger. This is not glass, it's real diamonds, sir, the waiter explained. To be precise, it's 6,000 diamonds. Su Weifeng whispered beside him, as if he was talking about ordinary stones instead of diamonds. What? Qin Yang's heart began to beat wildly. Diamonds are the most expensive metal in the world now. Even if these diamonds are small, there are 6,000 of them. How much does this bottle of wine cost? He did not doubt the waiter's words. This hotel is a chain hotel with branches in many countries. The background is mysterious, and it is not comparable to any local family. Even such a hotel would not cheat him out of a bottle of wine. How much is this bottle of wine? Qin Yang managed to squeeze out a few words from his teeth. $1,600,000, the waiter said directly. With a bang, Qin Yang went under the table, his eyes went dark, and he passed out. Qin Yang was originally a child of a small local family, and he could afford a bottle of Lafite worth tens of thousands, but this $1 million directly broke his psychological defenses, and coupled with his high blood pressure, his blood pressure rose directly. Feng Bao and Jin Fifei, who were originally in a daze, also woke up. Jin Fifei hurried to help Qin Yang up, pinched his renzang and hit his face, and Qin Yang woke up. Help me go to the hospital, I feel uncomfortable, have a headache, and my heart seems to be sick, Qin Yang said with a gloomy face, and he really didn't look very good. Yang, are you okay? I'll call an ambulance now. Jin Fifei was so anxious that she was about to cry, and hurriedly searched for the phone in her bag. No need to call, just drive me there, Qin Yang said and walked out. Jin Fifei hurriedly picked up her bag and chased after him. Before leaving, she told Feng Bao, sorry, Bao, I can't accompany you for now. You eat first. I'll call you after I accompany Yang to the hospital. Go quickly, don't worry about us. Feng Bao said hurriedly. She felt a little guilty now. It seemed that Jin Fifei's boyfriend was frightened by her boyfriend. It's all your fault. You ordered such expensive wine. If Fifei's boyfriend gets sick, how can I explain it to her? Feng Bao stared at Su Weifeng, and now she wanted to beat him up. Is he sick? Go out and take a look. He must be running out now. Su Weifeng smiled. Su Weifeng was right. At this time, Qin Yang was pulling Jin Fifei out the door. Yang, what are you doing? Are you okay? Jin Fifei also found that Qin Yang didn't seem to be sick, and she had a bad premonition. Hurry up and leave. Fortunately, I reacted quickly, otherwise I would have been cheated to death today. Qin Yang's face was still a little gloomy because he was angry. Are you really pretending? That kid is so wicked. He ordered 1.6 million US dollars for the wine. That's 10 million RMB. Can I afford it? My family can afford it, but at least the cash flow chain is not enough. They will kill me. Qin Yang stared at Jin Fifei and cursed in his heart that it was all Jin Fifei's fault. What kind of rubbish people did she know? What about Bao? Jin Fifei also knew that what Qin Yang said was true. He really couldn't take out the money, but she was also worried about her best friend Feng Bao. That was ordered by her boyfriend. We didn't drink it. After we left, her boyfriend dared to drink the wine. He must have returned it. You can go back later to pay for the meal. Qin Yang thought about it and said, Jin Fifei thought about it and felt that what he said made sense. If Baoa really drank 1.6 million yuan of wine, she would be sick. Ah. You said he was pretending? What do you think? He looked down on us so much just now, and he said so confidently he would treat us to whatever we ordered, but he ran away when he found out he couldn't afford it after we ordered. That's what happened. What kind of man did Fifei find? He has no quality and no responsibility. By the way, what should we do with the wine if he runs away? Feng Bao just remembered that the person who paid the bill ran away and they had to pay the bill later. Don't worry, just consider it as my treat for you. You didn't choose a good place this morning and you didn't enjoy the meal. This meal is to make up for it for you. Su Weifeng signaled the waiter to start serving the dishes. Let's return this wine. It's too expensive and it's not opened anyway. Feng Bao picked up the wine, stroked the bottle, and said reluctantly, "Waiter, another bottle of Lafite." Su Weifeng shouted again, "Titular, take it back and give it to your dad to drink. It's just right that the bottle will be yours after you finish it." Su Weifeng smiled as he watched Feng Bao reluctantly put it down. "It just so happens that I think red wine goes better with steak. Tequila is tequila, which I really don't like," Su Weifeng said casually while cutting the steak. "Ah, how can that be? 10 million bottles of wine for my dad. You don't have any ideas about me, do you?" Feng Bao looked at Su Weifeng warily, and then her eyes narrowed again, looking like she was lecherous. "It seems that you have ideas about me. Don't worry, I'll take it home to drink." Su Weifeng rolled his eyes, still holding the steak in his mouth, and stretched out his hand to take the tequila. Seeing this, Feng Bao hugged the bottle of wine in her arms and glared at Su Weifeng with her big eyes, like a dragon protecting her jewels. "You are not allowed to take back the things you gave away. I forgot that I won the game for you, and you won billions. You really don't need this little money, haha." Chapter 733 I really paid. How well done is this steak? Some people like it medium rare, and some people like it medium rare. Feng Bao asked curiously while eating the steak. She ordered medium rare. She saw that the rare steak Kenyang ordered just now was still bloody. There is no standard. It all depends on personal preference. I like it well done. I have eaten a lot of raw meat, but well done is better. Su Weifeng thought for a while and said, "Brother Feng, have you ever eaten raw meat?" Feng Bao's eyes widened. She couldn't accept this medium rare steak. "You know my unit is special. Some missions are in the mountains. In order not to be discovered, we can't use fire. There are no ingredients. We eat whatever we catch. I'll let you try it during the special training next time," Su Weifeng said to Feng Bao with a sly smile. He really wanted to see what this violent little policewoman looked like when eating raw meat, and whether she would still gobble it up. "Okay, I really want to try it," Feng Bao said stubbornly, but she was just saying that. Now she suddenly remembered the scene of wild dogs in Africa eating the carcass of the fawn. In her mind, she unconsciously replaced the image of the wild dogs with herself, and the corners of her mouth twitched unconsciously. The meal was very enjoyable. The two of them ate a French meal for 4 people, which almost felt like a barbecue. The bottle of red wine was almost empty. "It's over. It's over. I'm going to get fat if I eat like this for 2 days. Will Sister Zhuangxan and the others think I'm pregnant with you?" Feng Bao's words scared Su Weifeng, and he almost spit out a mouthful of wine. This violent little policewoman really dared to say anything. "Even if she's pregnant, you can't tell in just a few days," Su Weifeng said leisurely, and his eyes swept Feng Bao's belly. "That's possible. How about you try it?" Feng Bao looked at Su Weifeng provocatively. Su Weifeng really didn't dare to answer this. If it was Teo, he would dare to answer it, because Teo was always pretending, and would definitely be scared if there was something. But Su Weifeng really didn't dare to try Feng Bao, because he had seen her wild side in Africa. "Waiter, check out." Su Weifeng knew that the waiter was just outside the door, so he shouted directly to cover up his embarrassment. Feng Bao rolled her eyes at Su Weifeng, full of contempt. Su Weifeng pretended not to see it and glanced at the door. "Sir, your total consumption is RMB 10.1 million. The waiter had already calculated the price and stared at Su Weifeng to see his reaction. The waiter had seen many people here and had long seen that the host had run away. He didn't believe whether Su Weifeng could afford the sky-high wine. Wow, so much, or we will be refunded by this tequila. Although Feng Bao knew the price of tequila just now, she still found it hard to accept the price when she heard it, when she really paid the bill. More than 10 million for a meal, and she spent a villa for a meal. She was scared just thinking about it. The waiter was relieved when he heard Feng Bao's words. As expected, not everyone can afford tequila. It doesn't matter if it's not opened and returned. If you really drink it and can't afford it, you will be in big trouble. Take it and pay it. Su Weifeng took out a black card and handed it to the waiter. The waiter's eyes widened when he saw the card. He bent down to take the card and returned it. The waiter has worked here for several years and has only seen this kind of card once. This card is not just an ordinary bank card, but also a symbol of status. It is issued by a Swiss bank. The threshold for opening an account is $1 billion, and it is not enough to just have money. He hurried out to find the manager to verify the authenticity of the card. Soon the waiter returned to the private room, respectfully handed the card to Su Weifeng, and bent down 90 degrees to send Su Weifeng and Feng Bao out. Although Feng Bao felt distressed when she thought about Su Weifeng's assets, the 10 million seemed to be nothing. She was generous and forgot about it in an instant. She happily hugged tequila. She was originally a big-eyed beauty, but now her eyes narrowed into crescents, which was quite interesting. As soon as she walked out of the private room, she saw Jin Fifei and Qin Yang coming back. Qin Yang also returned to his original high-handed look at this time, with his chest and head held high, looking at people with his nose. Bao, have you finished eating? Jin Fifei was a little embarrassed to see Feng Bao and said awkwardly, "We've finished eating, thank you for the hospitality." Feng Bao smiled and pulled Jin Fifei and said, "How was Qin Yang's visit to the hospital? Is he okay?" Although she knew that Qin Yang was pretending, she still pretended not to know for Jin Fifei's sake and said with concern, "Qin Yang is fine, he's fine now, just a little bit of high blood pressure just now." Jin Fifei said with a slightly red face, feeling very embarrassed. Qin Yang, who had been silent, stared at Feng Bao's arms, where she was holding the bottle of tequila. Qin Yang's face darkened immediately. "Didn't you return the wine? Did you ask the waiter to put the bill on my wedding banquet?" Qin Yang was very angry. His wedding banquet was in this hotel. He didn't believe that Su Weifeng and Feng Bao could afford the wine. There was only one explanation. "Don't be too greedy. The meal can be put on my wedding banquet. I can pay for the meal, but I will never pay for the wine." Qin Yang didn't care about his face and tore his face directly. "We can't afford the wine, Bao." Jin Fifei was a little unhappy that Feng Bao didn't return the wine. It was nothing for her best friend to spend a little money on dinner, but spending more than 10 million was a bit too much. She also had some opinions about Feng Bao. "We have already paid for the meal." Feng Bao was about to explain, but Su Weifeng said calmly, "It's not okay even if you've paid." "Have you paid?" Qin Yang asked subconsciously, and suddenly realized. Jin Fifei was also stunned, looking straight at Feng Bao, thinking that she had heard it wrong. "Fifei, we have already paid the bill. This wine is for my dad to drink." Feng Bao didn't want to embarrass her bestie, so she said with a smile. Although her bestie's boyfriend was not very good, her relationship with her bestie was still real. "Liar, you are a liar. This wine costs 10 million RMB, and you have already paid for it. If I can't afford it, how can you afford it? I'm going to find a hotel now. I don't care about the wine money. It has nothing to do with me. It can't be charged to my account." Qin Yang said, and was about to find the waiter. The waiter in the private room heard the noise and hurried over and first bowed to Su Weifeng. "Mr. Qin, Mr. Su has already paid for the meal just now, and it was not charged to your account." The waiter secretly despised Qin Yang in his heart, but didn't dare to show it, and said with a smile. Chapter 734 Devil Mountain. "What, you mean he paid the bill, including this bottle of what?" Qin Yang said with some disbelief. "Yes, Mr. Qin, Mr. Su has already paid the bill, including this bottle of tequila. The total is 10.1 million RMB. The waiter repeated it again. 10.1 million. Qin Yang stared at Su Weifeng blankly, in shock. Bao, what does your boyfriend do? 10 million for a meal? Jin Fifei just remembered that she didn't know what her best friend's boyfriend did, but he was so rich. She thought he was just an ordinary person before. He just opened a small company, but he can still afford this wine. Feng Bao said with some pride, but she didn't tell Su Weifeng's wealth. She knew Su Weifeng didn't like to show off. This time Qin Yang knew that he had made a mistake. This Su Weifeng was obviously a local tyrant. His attitude immediately changed 180 degrees. He was very enthusiastic and invited Su Weifeng to his company to see if there was any opportunity for cooperation. He called it a strong alliance. However, tomorrow is his wedding with Jin Fifei, and many things have not been arranged yet, so he had to say goodbye to Su Weifeng reluctantly. Su Weifeng and Feng Bao were quite disdainful of Qin Yang, but considering Jin Fifei's face, they did not show Qin Yang a face, and responded vaguely. Fifei is busy today, and there is no need for us. Let's not stay in the hotel. It's so boring. Let's find a place to play. Feng Bao herself is a person who can't sit still. She has slept enough this morning. She doesn't want to stay in the hotel for another afternoon. I didn't go anywhere to play when I came here before. I was always on a mission. Now that you mention it, I really remember that there is a mountain near Ke City, and it is undeveloped and pristine. Su Weifeng recalled and suddenly remembered. What mountain? The pristine ecology is good. Maybe you can catch some wild animals. Feng Bao became interested at once. What are you thinking? Catching wild animals? Do you think this is Africa? You can catch whatever you want. Our country protects wild animals. Su Weifeng rolled his eyes helplessly. This mountain is called Devil Mountain. Although you can't catch wild animals, there should be wild animals. You can take a photo or something. Yes, I didn't take photos with the animals during my training in Africa. It was a pity. So I went to this Devil Mountain. The name sounds domineering. Feng Bao's eyes lit up immediately. She hurried to pack her things, found a small mountaineering bag, and packed all the things she needed. What a violent girl. Wouldn't ordinary girls feel terrified when they heard the name of Devil Mountain? But she became domineering. Su Weifeng smiled bitterly and shook his head. After more than an hour's drive, the two finally arrived at the foot of Devil Mountain. Devil Mountain was in a desert. At noon, the Gobi Desert was the hottest time. From time to time, small khaki lizards crawled on the cracked ground. Looking into the distance, the heat waves rising from the surface made the scenery a little distorted. Looking up at the mountain, it was a mountain range, one next to another. The vegetation on the mountain was sparse, and it was mainly yellowish brown, lacking vitality. Brother Feng, is this the Devil Mountain? Why is it so lifeless? It's not what I thought. Feng Bao was disappointed. It was really a torture to climb such a mountain in such a hot day. The shower she just took was in vain. Is it so lifeless that it deserves the name of the Devil Mountain? It just so happens that you ate too much at noon. Now you can train and treat it as fitness. Su Weifeng had guessed that Feng Bao would behave like this and said with a smile. Feng Bao was listless and was dragged by Su Weifeng to start climbing the mountain. As they climbed up, Feng Bao's interest gradually came out and her body began to sweat. People who exercise know that sweating during exercise is refreshing, and it is a different feeling from sweating due to heat. Now Feng Bao is like this, and her whole body is refreshed. This Devil Mountain doesn't look high, but after climbing up a section, you will find that this mountain is simply too big. After climbing for an hour, the two finally climbed up this mountain, and this is just the smallest mountain on the edge of the mountain range. It's like just arriving at the base camp of Mount Everest, just starting. After climbing over this mountain, there are more and more green vegetation, and the air gradually becomes cooler, not as hot as before. Brother Feng, why didn't we see any small animals? We have been climbing for so long. Feng Bao said a little disappointed. She only saw several lizards crawling quickly on the rocks along the way. She came here to take pictures with small animals. What's the matter with taking pictures with lizards? If she posts this on the internet, she will be laughed at by her colleagues. The more she thought about it, the angrier she became. She looked at Su Weifeng with a puffy face, feeling that she had been deceived. The mountain we just climbed is just the outer part. There are no plants, so how can there be animals? The small animals are all inside. They also know how to hide from humans. Look at the mountain in front of us, the black spot jumping on the cliff. That is the mountain goat, a unique animal here, which can walk on the cliffs as if it were flat ground. Su Weifeng had never been to this devil's mountain. He guessed that there were wild animals, but he couldn't say that to Feng Beoer. This violent girl came here for the animals. If she said there were no wild animals, she would have to go back immediately. Where are they? I know mountain goats. You can't see them here. Can you really see mountain goats? Feng Beoer heard that there were mountain goats, and she became excited. She looked hard at the place where Su Weifeng pointed, but it was too far away, and she couldn't see anything. She looked at Su Weifeng with some suspicion, thinking that he was not lying to her. Didn't you see that little black dot? It's still moving. By the way, your eyesight is not as good as mine. It's a bit far from here. We can see it from closer. This time it's not the grassland. Let's see if you can catch a sheep on the mountain. Just watch me. I will definitely catch a sheep for you to see. Alas, it's a pity that it's a protected animal, otherwise I would have roasted a whole sheep. Feng Beoer just got excited, but then she was a little disappointed. Why are you thinking about eating such a cute little animal? Let's go quickly, or the sheep will run away soon. Su Weifeng patted Feng Beoer's head and said with a smile. Feng Beoer was wearing her tight leather jacket today. Although the sun was scorching outside, she didn't dare to wear short sleeves for sun protection, especially when climbing mountains. There are mosquitoes, snakes, and ants, so she had to protect her whole body. At this moment, she was like a little black panther, jumping out first, with obvious muscle lines on her body, streamlined, coordinated and explosive, completely different from ordinary girls, a different kind of beauty, wild beauty. Su Weifeng followed closely behind, always keeping a distance of 1 meter, no more, no less. Feng Beoer wanted to compete with Su Weifeng in speed, so she suddenly accelerated and rushed upwards. However, the footsteps behind her remained light and steady, and even the sound of breathing could not be heard. At this time, Feng Beoer was already breathing heavily. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 735 Trap. No more running, take a break. Feng Beoer sat on a big rock, panting. His throat was about to smoke. Are you still a human? I really doubt that you are a beast. You don't even breathe after running like this. That's because you haven't trained well enough. If I train you for a year, you can be like me. Su Weifeng said indifferently. Thinking about Su Weifeng's abnormal training method, he almost killed himself in 1 month. Every day was spent in hell, feeling that he could die at any time. If he lived like this for a year, Feng Beoer would shudder. Su Weifeng suddenly squatted down, sniffed the ground hard, frowned, and then walked to the left. Brother Feng, are you learning to be a police dog? Hey. Feng Beoer was confused and called Su Weifeng, but got no response, so she had to follow him. After walking a few dozen meters, a dark red spot appeared on the ground, and the spot continued to extend forward. As a police officer, Feng Beoer has strong professional ability. She immediately determined that it was blood, but it was hard to tell whether it was human or animal. Brother Feng, this should be animal blood. There must be carnivores on this mountain. Feng Beoer said to Su Weifeng. She said this to comfort herself. As a police officer, she certainly didn't want it to be human blood. It should be human blood. I'm too familiar with this smell. Let's be careful. Su Weifeng said seriously, and his face became serious. Feng Beoer fell silent after hearing what Su Weifeng said. She now admired Su Weifeng very much, and believed in his words. The two of them followed the direction of the blood, and walked to a bush. Finally, they found the source of the blood. These were 2 human bodies, which were already incomplete. Feng Beoer did not destroy the scene. She roughly judged that the 2 bodies were 1 year old and 1 woman. From the torn clothes, they guessed that they were young people. Their facial skin and bodies were eaten by wild beasts. It was impossible to identify them. They did not carry any items that could prove their identities. Officer, do you think these two young people encountered wild animals or were murdered? Su Weifeng said to Feng Bao calmly. Su Weifeng is a soldier, and he is good at attacking and fighting. He is not good at solving cases, which is Feng Bao's strong point. According to the degree of decay of the body, the death should have been more than a week, but the temperature here is not the normal level we calculated, so the actual death time should be shorter. As for whether it was a wild animal or a human murder, it is not clear now. This should not be the first scene. We have to wait for the forensic doctor to come to the scene to confirm it. Feng Bao is a hard-working person in the police force. When she saw a murder case, she immediately entered the state of a policewoman. Let's call the police and let the local police handle it. Su Weifeng reminded him hurriedly. He was really afraid that Feng Bao would get excited and start investigating the case here. Yes, this is not our Yangcheng anymore. I can't enforce the law across provinces. Call the police quickly. Feng Bao remembered that this matter was really not something she could intervene in, and her tense nerves relaxed. Who's there? Come out. Su Weifeng suddenly shouted at a rock not far from the mountain. A few seconds later, a middle-aged man wearing mountaineering clothes and carrying an ultralight mountaineering bag poked his head out from behind the rock and stretched out his hand to indicate that he had no ill intentions. Who are you, and why are you here? Feng Bao asked subconsciously. This was also a professional habit, and it was all imprinted in her blood. I'm a hiker. I came to this devil mountain with my friend. What are you doing? The middle-aged man looked at Su Weifeng and Feng Bao and then glanced at the two corpses with a look of fear in his eyes. We came here to climb the mountain for fun, and we encountered corpses. We don't know what to do. Su Weifeng stared into the eyes of the middle-aged man, trying to see something from them. We also encountered corpses. Is there a beast on this mountain? My friend is still in the cave. I have to go find him. The middle-aged man became more and more anxious as he spoke. What cave? What corpse? Please explain it clearly. Feng Bao was very anxious about the middle-aged man's incoherent words. My friend and I were looking for a shelter to spend the night today. We wandered around and found a cave behind a vine. We threw stones and shouted for a while, but there was no movement. My friend and I dared to go in. If there were any wild animals, they would run out after hearing the noise. As soon as we entered, we saw a body lying on the ground, but there were no injuries on the body and no signs of wild animals biting. We guessed that he died of a sudden illness. We wanted to call the police, but there was no signal over there. My friend was waiting there, so I came down to call the police. The middle-aged man told Su Weifeng and the others about his experience. Feng Bao was skeptical about what the middle-aged man said, frowned and looked at Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng just looked at the middle-aged man calmly and did not react. Let's go find your friend first and see what the body is like, and then we will call the police together. Feng Bao thought for a while and said. The middle-aged man readily agreed and immediately led the way. Feng Bao and Su Weifeng followed closely behind. Su Weifeng pointed at his eyes and then at the middle-aged man in front, signaling Feng Bao to pay attention. Feng Bao immediately understood Su Weifeng's intention. The few people climbed up the mountain for more than an hour. Feng Bao became more and more anxious and looked at the middle-aged man with more and more unfriendly eyes. It was obvious that she was deceived. Finally, after walking diagonally downward for a while, a hidden cave appeared in front of the few people. It was a stone cave less than one person high, and you could barely enter it by bending over. It's here. I didn't lie to you. The middle-aged man said while panting. He was stared at by Feng Bao all the way and his back was cold. Feng Bao didn't care about the middle-aged man anymore. He took the first step out of the cave. With the dim light outside, it can be seen that this is an irregular cave of more than 10 square meters. At the innermost part of the cave, a human-shaped object fell to the ground, and it was unclear whether it was dead or alive. Feng Bao ran inside to see what happened to the third dead person. It was very likely that he was related to the previous two. There was no wild animal in the cave, so he should be able to find something to prove his identity, which would be more helpful for the police to solve the case. Su Weifeng ran behind Feng Baoer. Suddenly, Feng Baoer felt empty under her feet. She screamed and fell down. Su Weifeng's first reaction was to pull Feng Baoer. As soon as he grabbed Feng Baoer's wrist, he felt empty under his feet. It was too late to exert force, and he fell down with Feng Baoer. Chapter 736. Are you ready? Feng Baoer finally landed with a thud. Fortunately, there was still soil on the ground. It was just that hurt a little, but she was not injured. Su Weifeng landed even more lightly, with only a slight sound. After landing, he immediately took out his mobile phone to check the current environment. This was a large hole dug by humans. The surroundings of the hole were made of rocks. The walls of the hole were very smooth. There was basically no place to use leverage. Moreover, the shape of the hole was wide at the bottom and narrow at the top. The hole was about 5 meters deep, so it was impossible to climb up. Comrade Police, are you okay? I'm here to save you. Two figures appeared at the top of the hole. Due to the light, they were not clear, but the voice told us that the person who spoke was the middle-aged man. What do you want to do? Did you kill these people? Although Feng Baoer was startled, she was not panicked. With Su Weifeng by her side, she had an inexplicable sense of security. This was a habit she developed in Africa. No matter how many beasts there were on the grassland, as long as she hugged Su Weifeng, she would sleep very peacefully. Don't you want to catch us? Come on, let me catch you. You are so stupid. You believed me so easily. Haha. The middle-aged man laughed triumphantly. Yes, we killed those people. They were just 3 students. Students nowadays are so easy to deceive. It's a pity for that female student. Her skin was so tender and smooth like water. She died after hitting the wall, after we played with her for just 2 days. What a pity. We were also very kind. We threw the couple together after they died, so that they can still be together as desperate couples. We are too kind. There is nothing we can do. Alas. Another voice came. It sounded like a young man, and there was madness in his voice. You deserve to die. You dare to say you are kind, after doing such beastly things. You will not have a good result. Wait for the punishment of the law. Feng Baoer bit her lip, and said through her teeth. As a girl, she hated people who violated women. You are fugitives, right? Where did you escape from? Su Weifeng suddenly said lightly, with a very calm tone, and he didn't feel trapped at all. Ha, you're right, we are fugitives, both of us are sentenced to death. We didn't expect to have a chance to get out. It's really God who won't let me die. Ha ha ha. The young man admitted generously, not caring about his identity as a prisoner. You dare to kill people, aren't you afraid of adding to your crime? Feng Baoer said sternly, while groping the surrounding walls. They were very smooth. There was no place to climb. Don't bother, we have polished all around, and applied some oil. You have no chance to get out. The middle-aged man noticed Feng Baoer's actions and laughed. Are you police stupid? We are sentenced to death. Killing one more is killing. Killing 2 is killing. Are you afraid of this? And this time we can kill 2 policemen. I'm done for. Especially that girl. Her figure and looks are as good as movie stars. It's worth it, if she's caught tomorrow. The middle-aged man said with a lewd smile. He had been eyeing Feng Baoer for a long time. He hadn't seen a beautiful woman in prison for a long time. A female is a beauty, and a beauty like Feng Baoer is a fairy. I'm going to kill you. Feng Baoer was about to explode with anger. No one had ever talked to her like this before. The performance time is over. Su Weifeng's gloomy voice suddenly came. I wanted to give you more time to perform before I died, but you made my girlfriend angry. Your time is up. Su Weifeng seemed to be announcing their death sentence. The 2 fugitives above her did, and stepped back at the same time. They were afraid that the police had guns on them. If they were shot before they died, they would be finished. You come to kill us. Let me see how you get up. Ha ha ha. The young man laughed loudly, as if he heard a joke. Are you ready? Su Weifeng suddenly came to the middle of the cave, bent his legs slightly, crossed his hands in front of his legs, and gestured to Feng Baoer. Feng Baoer immediately understood Su Weifeng's intention, stepped back a few steps, and began to run towards Su Weifeng. Ready? Ha ha ha. The young man above didn't understand, and laughed and replied. Feng Baoer jumped up quickly, and stepped heavily on Su Weifeng's crossed hands with her right foot. Su Weifeng swung his arms upwards, and Feng Bao took advantage of the force to fly up. Su Weifeng held his breath, and with a breath of true energy, he stomped his right foot on the ground, and his whole body rushed up. His right hand borrowed force from Feng Bao's feet again, and the two of them grabbed the edge of the hole at the same time. This was only with Feng Bao. Su Weifeng couldn't do this if he was with other women. The two of them grabbed the hole, and turned over, and appeared on it. The young and middle-aged people at this time were all terrified. What was going on? They just said they were ready, and they came up in just a few seconds. Even if they used ropes, they couldn't be so fast. Before the two of them could react, Feng Bao charged at them. This time, Su Weifeng didn't need to do anything. Facing the angry female Tyrannosaurus, the two prisoners would probably end up in a miserable way. Seeing Feng Bao rushing over, the two fugitives gritted their teeth and rushed forward. They were also dared to kill people. Feng Bao kicked the middle-aged man hard in the face with a high kick, knocking him to the ground. His face was covered in blood and his nose was broken. Feng Bao took a step back, dodged the dagger stabbed by the young man, grabbed his wrist, and punched him in the ribs. The young man was in pain and the dagger slipped out of his hand, and fell to the ground. Feng Bao pushed the young man against the wall of the cave, hooking, swinging, elbowing, kneeing, and outputting crazily. From time to time, there were noises coming from the young man's body, either muffled or the crisp sound of bones. At first, the young man could scream a few times, but later there was no sound at all. Su Weifeng looked at Feng Bao's methods and nodded secretly. The previous training had not regressed. Feng Bao was more violent than before. Suddenly, he thought that this woman was much more cruel than a man when she got angry. The middle-aged man was still rolling on the ground with his face covered. When he heard the noise from the young man, he felt that the pain on his face was relieved. He rolled up and was about to pick up the knife that the young man dropped. The knife was still found by them from a fellow hiker. As soon as the middle-aged man grasped the hilt of the knife, he felt a sharp pain in his hand. Su Weifeng stomped heavily on his hand holding the knife. The middle-aged man barely pulled his hand out and turned to run out of the cave. These two were devils. If he didn't run, he would die. As soon as he passed Feng Bao, he was blocked by a back kick from Feng Bao and kicked in the head again. This time the middle-aged man fainted directly. He was lucky, because when he fainted, Feng Bao simply stepped on him again, and he didn't experience the pain of the young man. Chapter 737 Bedtime Story. Su Weifeng and Feng Bao found the bearded policeman's phone number and called him directly. Qin Weifeng found something wrong with the middle-aged man at the beginning. He secretly checked his phone. There was obviously a signal, but it was a little weak. The bearded man was calm all the way, which was not like what an ordinary person should have. When Su Weifeng arrived in the cave, he felt that there was something wrong, even though he could not see the trap on the ground due to the light. Feng Bao really stepped on the trap, so Su Weifeng followed him down, just to see what the middle-aged man's purpose was. Sure enough, the two fugitives jumped out by themselves. On behalf of the people of Ke City, I thank you. You have helped us a lot. If you hadn't caught these two fugitives, I don't know how many people would have been killed. The bearded policeman rushed over immediately after receiving the call. After confirming the identities of the two fugitives, he was overjoyed. It was their recent major case. They escaped from prison and continued to kill people. They were really vicious. Even when he saw the miserable appearance of the two fugitives, he did not have the slightest sympathy. Kindness to the enemy is a sin to treat one's own people. But looking at the young man's appearance, the corners of the bearded policeman's mouth twitched unconsciously. This is too cruel. How big a grudge must be taken? Women really can't be provoked. Su Weifeng rejected the invitation of the bearded policeman and gave all the credit to the bearded policeman. Although he was embarrassed, he saw that Su Weifeng and the others really had something to do and insisted on leaving, so he didn't force them to stay. He was also very excited in his heart. This great achievement could definitely get him a promotion. Su Weifeng and Feng Bao returned to the hotel under the escort of the police car. After all this tossing, it was already past 9 o'clock in the evening and they were very tired. I'm going to take a shower. You are not allowed to peek. Feng Bao winked at Su Weifeng and walked into the bathroom. Is this a hint for me to peek? Su Weifeng thought in his heart, listening to the sound of rushing water. Ah no. Su Weifeng hurriedly looked at his nose and heart, distracting his attention. After washing for almost an hour, Feng Bao finally came out of the bathroom. No matter how wild a woman is, she is still a woman. She doesn't like to be clean. Today, she was covered in dirt and blood. She washed several times before she felt that the smell was gone. Silk nightgown. Su Weifeng lay on the bed, muttering in his heart. Feng Bao didn't mean to seduce him. She really didn't avoid Su Weifeng's consciousness. What's the matter with wearing pajamas? She usually likes silk, which is comfortable and cool. Su Weifeng saw Feng Bao got into the bed and hurried to the bathroom and took a cold shower. After the shower, he turned off the lights and lay on the bed, keeping a little distance from Feng Bao. Brother Feng, you won't pounce on me at night, right? Feng Bao's voice came out a little nervously. Don't worry, we slept together in Africa and nothing happened. What else can happen now? That's different. This is a hotel with a lot of atmosphere, and there are only two of us. No one knows what we do. Feng Bao's heartbeat began to accelerate. She said it casually, but it felt a little wrong after she said it, as if it was a bit tempting. Su Weifeng suddenly grinned. Ah. Feng Bao yelled and kicked Su Weifeng to the ground. Oh my god, I was just teasing you, but you kicked me so hard. Su Weifeng climbed onto the bed with a bitter face. Who told you to be so lewd, huh? Feng Bao also felt relieved and pretended to be angry. I can't afford to offend you, so I'll go to sleep, okay? Su Weifeng said helplessly. Tell me a story, I can't sleep anyway. Feng Bao saw that he was really quiet, so she pushed Su Weifeng and said, bedtime story. Do you want to hear the story of Pleasant Goat and Big Bad Wolf or the story of Little White Rabbit and Big Bad Wolf? Pervert, the stories they tell are all about Big Bad Wolf, just like you. Feng Bao pinched Su Weifeng and said, then what do you want to hear? Tell me about you and your girlfriend, how you cheated so many beauties, the more detailed the better. Feng Bao became more and more excited as she spoke, her eyes shining. It's time to go to bed. Go to bed quickly. Su Weifeng didn't want to tell others about his affairs with his woman as a story. His feelings were sincere. Humph, stingy. The atmosphere suddenly became quiet. Su Weifeng felt a little sleepy and slowly closed his eyes. In the darkness, a cold body slowly came over, gently hugged Su Weifeng, and then there was no movement. Su Weifeng smiled, knowing that it was Feng Bao. They often slept together in Africa before, and let her hug him without moving. Su Weifeng slowly fell asleep. Feng Bao was nervous now, not knowing what to do, and her heart was very conflicted. If he treated her like this, could she really accept it? After a while, she suddenly heard Su Weifeng's even breathing, and Feng Bao smiled softly. This might be the best result. She felt relieved, raised her head and gently kissed Su Weifeng on the face, then leaned on Su Weifeng's shoulder. Her heart was very quiet, sleepiness gradually came, and she fell asleep with a smile. The next morning, when Su Weifeng woke up, the two of them were sleeping in the same position, with Su Weifeng hugging Feng Bao. Su Weifeng got up naturally and went to the bathroom. Seeing that Feng Bao was still asleep, he went back to bed and hugged her. Suddenly, he felt a pain in his waist, and then he came to his senses. In his arms was Feng Bao, whose face was red, and she was looking at him angrily. Have you hugged me enough, pervert? It was a mistake. Su Weifeng smiled awkwardly. He was confused just now and didn't care. He thought he was sleeping with Len Zhuangsun. Oh, it's past 9 o'clock. Hurry up and get dressed. Your bestie's wedding is about to start. Su Weifeng glanced at the wall clock, which just diverted Feng Bao's attention. Ah, it's too late. I haven't washed my hair yet. Ah, you didn't call me earlier. Feng Bao panicked when she saw the time. She started to take off and put on her clothes in a hurry, not caring that Su Weifeng was in the room. The two dressed and washed up as quickly as possible, and finally arrived downstairs before the wedding procession returned. Finally we made it. If I hadn't made it to my best friend's wedding, I would have regretted it for the rest of my life. Feng Bao was still panting. Look, the motorcade is coming. Prepare the salute. Prepare the firecrackers. In the distance, a blue Lamborghini slowly drove into the crowd sight. followed closely by a Ferrari and a Maserati, all supercars, all worth millions of dollars. You couldn't see the end of it, with the double flashes on, driving in the middle of the road, and all the vehicles on the road pulled over to avoid it. Chapter 738 Qiao Yushan. Wow, Lamborghini, it would be nice if we could ride in this car when we get married. A girl's envious voice came from behind Feng Baoer. Feng Baoer felt that the voice was so familiar. She turned around and saw that it was her classmate Jiao Nana. They had a good relationship in school, but they had no contact after graduation. Feng Baoer was very happy to see her. Ah, Nana, you are here too. I just saw you. When did you come? Feng Baoer turned around and held Jiao Nana excitedly. The girl was stunned for a moment, then turned around and recognized Feng Baoer and was also very happy. Baoer, it's been many years since we last met. I heard that you are a policeman. That's amazing. When I was in school, I thought you would definitely become a policeman. I can't do that. This university is in vain. Jiao Nana said enviously. She didn't do well in school and didn't study hard. She didn't even pass the graduation internship, so she had to change her career. What's the big deal? Many of our classmates didn't become policemen. What are you doing now? I'm helping out in my boyfriend's company. By the way, I haven't introduced them to you yet. This is my boyfriend Zeng Ziming. This is my classmate Feng Baoer, a beautiful lady. Jiao Nana pulled a young man next to her and happily introduced them to Feng Baoer. Hello, I'm Feng Baoer, and this is my boyfriend Sui Feng. Feng Baoer said while holding Sui Feng's arm. Hello. Hello. Sui Feng shook hands with Jiao Nana's boyfriend, and they all got to know each other. Jiao Nana and her boyfriend were both kind people. They were very enthusiastic towards Sui Feng and Feng Baoer, and they had a great time talking. It is said that Baoer's boyfriend's family is very rich and has several large companies. I'm so envious. Baoer has found a rich husband. She will enjoy a happy life. Jiao Nana looked envious and said to Jin Fifi, who came out of the Lamborghini, "Do you regret finding me?" Zeng Ziming said in a sour tone. He still felt a little jealous. People always have a competitive heart. Knowing that Fifi's boyfriend is so rich, he felt a little bit overwhelmed. Oh, I was kidding. Xiao Mingming is the best. I wouldn't change him, even if I gave him 1 million. Jiao Nana said with her boyfriend's arm in her arm. What about 10 million? Feng Baoer joked. Ah, I'll think about it. While the few people were joking, the bride and groom had already walked into the hotel. Just as they were about to follow them in, a sharp brake sound was heard, and a Ferrari stopped half a meter in front of Sui Feng. Under the angry glares of Feng Baoer and Jiao Nana, the door of the Ferrari opened, and a guy who said, "I'm not a rich man, I'm the son of a rich man," got out of the car. This was a young man over 1.8 meters tall, in his 20s, with very white skin, permed curly hair, and wearing Jaguar sunglasses. This pair of sunglasses cost more than 200,000. The young man got out of the car and raised his hand to Sui Feng, and something was thrown to Sui Feng. Sui Feng caught it subconsciously, looked down, and saw a golden car key. The corner of his mouth pulled up and smiled. Did he think he was the doorman who parked the car? "Park the car for me, and there will be a reward when you come out." The young man walked over arrogantly, without even looking at Sui Feng. His eyes passed Sui Feng and swept across Feng Baoer's face. With Feng Baoer's face and figure, it was hard not to be noticed. The young man immediately came to Feng Baoer with a smile. "Hello, miss, my name is Qiao Yushan. I was amazed by you as soon as I saw you. You are the most beautiful girl I have ever seen. I can't help it. Please forgive me for being rude." The young man changed his arrogant look just now and said politely, "Sorry, she is my girlfriend. You are so mean." Sui Feng came over and put his arm around Feng Baoer's shoulders and threw the key to Qiao Yushan. "I'm Qiao Yushan, so what?" Qiao Yushan glared at Sui Feng. He was very upset that the girl he just fell in love with had her boyfriend show up. Haha. Zeng Ziming laughed out loud. "You dare to scold me? Do you know who I am?" Qiao Yushan said sternly. His eyes were about to burst into fire, and he just reacted. "I know, you are a bitch," Sui Feng said with a smile. At this time, a young man came out. Su Weifeng knew that this man was Qin Ming's brother Qin Guang, who was entertaining today's guests in front of the door. "Hey, Mr. Gao, welcome. Thank you for your support." Qin Ming was quite enthusiastic about Mr. Gao. "Who is this kid?" Gao Jian pointed at Su Weifeng and said with a bad face. "What's wrong, Mr. Gao? What's the matter? She's a friend of the bride. If she offends you, let her toast you later. Don't bother with her." Qin Guang glared at Su Weifeng. He didn't take the few friends from the bride's side seriously. They were just small people. Mr. Gao's family was one of the most famous families in Ke City. It was good for an outsider to offend the Gao family. He thought that Su Weifeng's request for a favor was also a face-saving gesture for the bride. Gao Jian snorted and walked in. Su Weifeng's expression did not change. He didn't care about this kind of person at all. It was fine if he didn't come to trouble him, but if he dared to come to trouble him, he would be a bummer. This person seems to be very powerful. He won't really come to trouble you, will he? Zheng Ziming didn't know much about the family, but he knew that it was very powerful. He said to Su Weifeng with some concern. "What kind of person is he? He is so arrogant and still looking for trouble. The police are here. If he causes trouble, just arrest him." Jiao Nana pulled Feng Baoer and said with a smile. Feng Baoer thought that as a police officer, she was really useless in this regard, but she was not worried. It was just one family. There were so many families in Yangcheng who came to trouble Su Weifeng. In the end, they either declined or disappeared completely. If he wanted to die, no one could stop him. Today, the hotel was booked by the Qin family. Feng Baoer, Su Weifeng and others went straight to the front of the stage. Generally, the bride's family and classmates were in the front, which was also a respect for the bride's family. When they walked to the front of the stage, they finally saw their seats. They were not in front of the stage, but on the side of the stage. There was only one table that suddenly appeared here, close to the sound engineer's operating table. At this time, two old people were sitting at the table. They were Jin Fifa's parents. The two old people seemed to be in two different worlds with the lively wedding scene. They seemed so out of place, and their faces were blank. "Uncle and aunt, why are you sitting here? The seats for the bride's family are arranged here," Feng Baoer said with her eyes wide open. She was almost furious. These were her best friend's parents. "Ah, Baoer is here." Fifa's mother recognized Feng Baoer and said a little embarrassedly, "It's all our fault that we are incompetent. We made our daughter look down upon by others." Jin Fifa's father sighed, with anger in his eyes, but not daring to show it. Chapter 739, No More. The Qin family treated you like this, and Fifa doesn't care about it? This is too bullying. Jiao Nana was also indignant. She only heard that Fifa found a tall, rich and handsome man, and he was not ordinary rich, but she didn't expect that they didn't take Fifa seriously. "Let's go find Fifa." Feng Baoer pulled Jiao Nana and was about to leave. "Calm down. It will do nothing to find Fifa at this time, except to cause trouble for her." Zheng Ziming held Nana and said, "What the young man said is right. Today, all the people attending the wedding are dignitaries. We are just ordinary people who will pay attention to us. And if we cause trouble, Fifa's in-laws will be unhappy, and Fifa's life will be difficult. It doesn't matter if we suffer a little grievance. We are satisfied as long as Fifa is happy." Jin Fifa's mother said helplessly. Originally, Jin Fifa's parents didn't want her to marry such a rich family, fearing that Fifa would be bullied, but since Fifa was willing, they didn't interfere. With good conditions, Fifa would be happy. But the man didn't ask for their opinions at all when the wedding started, and now he treats them very coldly. They are worried about their daughter. Soon the wedding ceremony began. The host came on stage, and the bride and groom entered according to the procedures. All the procedures were normal, except for one thing missing. The bride's parents came on stage to speak, and the faces of several people at the table of her family were gloomy. Feng Baoer was also not happy. She could bear other things. Her parents came to the wedding, and didn't even come on stage. It was too disrespectful to take her parents seriously. "Qin Yang, what's wrong with you? Is this how you treat my parents? Didn't you say you would be good to me and respect my parents with me? Is this what you do?" Jin Fifa was angry and wronged, and she cried directly on the stage. The whole hall was quiet, everyone was staring at the bride and groom on the stage. The MC was stunned for a moment, but he reacted immediately. After all, he was hired by the Qin family, so he was very capable of responding to emergencies. The couple is about to enter another stage of life. They are no longer just sons and daughters, but also wives and husbands. The bride is about to leave her parents. Fei, stop making trouble. So many people are watching. Today is not only our wedding, but also a big event for our Qin family. If you make trouble again, our Qin family will lose face. Qin Yang gritted his teeth and whispered, I'm marrying you, Qin Yang, not your Qin family. What's the point of not letting my parents go on stage? My parents have no power and influence, which makes your family embarrassed, right? Well, I'm not worthy of you, the young master of the Qin family, and I won't get married. Jin Fifa's heart was cold, because Qin Yang was rich and powerful. When they were together, she always accommodated him. Who made her marry a rich man? But Qin Yang showed that he didn't care about himself, his friends, and now his parents. She was completely disappointed with Qin Yang, and gave up on this marriage. Stop. Qin Yang was also angry, feeling very embarrassed. This was not only his own face, but also the face of the Qin family. Qin Yang, get her down. Don't embarrass yourself here. The person who spoke was a middle-aged man, Qin Yang's father, Qiao Yushan, who was sitting at the head of the table. At this time, he had a gloomy face, and was trying hard to hold back his anger. Jin Fifei didn't care what they said at all, and ran to her parents' table crying. Qin Yang grabbed her, and slapped her in the face with his backhand. Don't be shameless, how can your parents have face? If it weren't for your parents, I wouldn't even look at them. You are lucky to marry me. There are so many women like you. If you go down now, I can change a woman to marry me. Think about it carefully. Qin Yang finally tore his face. Jin Fifei's performance had angered the old man, because Jin Fifei's status in the family would also decline, which made him furious. You hit me. You really hit me. Jin Fifei was stunned. She didn't expect Qin Yang to hit him, especially on the stage of the wedding. Jin Fifei's parents hurried onto the stage. Jin Fifei's mother hugged her daughter and cried with Jin Fifei. Jin Fifei's father raised his hand and slapped Qin Yang. At this time, he didn't care whether his son-in-law was rich or had a strong background. He couldn't tolerate him hitting his daughter. Old thing, you dare to hit me. Qin Yang was stunned by the beating. He didn't expect that this father-in-law he looked down on would dare to do it. At the signal of Qiao Yushan, several bodyguards of the Qin family rushed to the stage to pull them down and prepare to deal with them in the back. The scene was already chaotic enough, and they couldn't let people laugh at them. What are you doing? Do you still want to hit people? Su Weifeng went straight to the front and blocked Jin Fifei and the others. Feng Bao and Jiao Nana glared at Qin Yang while comforting Jin Fifei. Get out of the way. If you make trouble, don't blame me for being rude to you. Qin family. Qiao Yushan stood up. Jin Fifei's family was at least in-laws, but he was not polite to these classmates of Jin Fifei. Fei, do you still want to get married? Su Weifeng ignored Qiao Yushan's words and said to Jin Fifei seriously. Su Weifeng gave Jin Fifei a chance to choose. If she still wanted to get married in silence, then he would take Feng Bao away. He couldn't stay at the wedding. If Feng Bao made up her mind not to get married, he would take Jin Fifei and her parents away safely, and no one could stop her. Fei, you decide. I support you. Feng Bao also said, waiting for Jin Fifei's decision. Fei, don't worry about me and your dad. If you want to get married, you can get married. If you don't want to get married, we won't get married. Jin Fifei's mother touched her hair, her eyes full of pampering. Why get married? You hit Fei. You won't get married no matter what. Jin Fifei's father shouted loudly. He was determined to make it today. No one could bully his daughter. Jin Fifei smiled sadly, looking at her parents who looked distressed, and her classmates who stood up to support her with worried faces, and then looked back at Qin Yang who had a gloomy face. Mom and dad, let's go. I won't get married. Jin Fifei said as she pulled herself out. How dare you? You can get married just because you say so, and you can't get married if you don't want to. You are a member of our Qin family, and you can't leave if I don't agree. Qin Zhiaoshan waved his hand, and more than 10 bodyguards surrounded them, waiting for Qin Zhiaoshan's next order. Today, I, Su Weifeng, am here. Let's see who can touch them. Su Weifeng took a step forward, glanced around coldly, and his eyes were full of murderous intent. Several bodyguards looked at Su Weifeng solemnly. Some of them had killed people, and they also had murderous aura, but the murderous aura on Su Weifeng was much stronger than his. The hair on his body stood up, and he felt that he would be killed at any time. They had never met such a person before. Su Weifeng? I've never heard of you. Where did you come from? You have no right to speak in this city. Qin Zhiaoshan snorted coldly and said disdainfully. Chapter 740 Big Brother. Where did you come from, you bastard? You really think you're a piece of cake? You can just leave in front of so many families like us? It's useless if you die here. You have never seen the world. A young voice shouted in a gloomy voice. It was Gao Jian who had a conflict with Su Weifeng and the others at the door just now. Gao Jian stood up and walked to the front. I'll give you a chance. Kneel down and apologize, and we'll let you go. As for the others, you don't have to think about it. Gao Jian glanced at Feng Baoer, his eyes full of greed. This sentence sounds familiar. Many people have said this to me, but they all knelt in front of me. Su Weifeng said lightly, as if he was talking about what he had eaten in the morning. Oh. Haha, you are quite good at pretending. I want to see how I kneel. As soon as Gao Jian finished speaking, he felt a huge force kicking his knees hard. Gao Jian knelt down in front of Su Weifeng, and his knees made close contact with the marble floor. Gao Jian was in so much pain that he couldn't stand up for a while. Mr. Song, what are you doing? Qin Zhiaoshan looked at the two people behind Gao Jian and said with some surprise. It was Song Qijiang from the Buncheng Song family, the third generation of the Song family. Of course, now that the old man is gone, he is only the second generation. The other one is his bodyguard, but Su Weifeng has never seen this bodyguard. You are very courageous. Boss Su is the big brother of my Song family. There are still people who want Boss Su to kneel down. This is humiliating my Song family. Song Qijiang didn't think about how to introduce Su Weifeng for a while. It's not appropriate to say that he is the man of the head of the family. It seems like he is talking about the concubine of Queen Wazishan. It's too disrespectful to Su Weifeng. He wanted to say something temporarily. The Buncheng Song family has a lot of cooperation with the Qin family. If it weren't for the financial help of the Song family, the Qin family would not have reached its current status. Moreover, the Song family is not comparable to his small Qin family. It is a great honor for Qin Yang to invite the Song family to his wedding this time. The big brother of the Song family, Qin Yang, had not spoken since Su Weifeng came out. It was because, after what happened yesterday, he was not sure about Su Weifeng. He did not believe that someone who could drink wine worth 10 million yuan did not have a background. When he heard the words of the Song family in Bincheng, his facial muscles twitched a little. Mr. Song, we really did not know that Mr. Su was of such an identity. If we knew, it would not have become like this. This is a misunderstanding. Qin Zhiaoshan knew that he could not afford to offend the Song family. No matter what position Su Weifeng held in the Song family, he could not do anything to him today, so he hurriedly said to Song Qijiang. Gao Jian did not know Song Qijiang, but seeing Qin Zhiaoshan's attitude towards a young man of about the same age as himself, he knew that Song Qijiang was definitely from a big family and stronger than the Qin family. His own Gao family was not even as good as the Qin family, so he did not dare to speak, but his eyes became colder. Whether it's a misunderstanding or not is not up to me. What do you think, Boss Su? Song Qijiang said respectfully. Although he had conflicts with Su Weifeng before, that was in the past. He was the direct descendant of the family and of course knew Su Weifeng's situation. Su Weifeng was actually the boss behind the Song family. He didn't become the head of the family just because he didn't think highly of the Song family. There were many families behind Su Weifeng, and the Song family was nothing compared to those families. The Song family has cooperation with the Qin family, right? Su Weifeng said indifferently. Yes, there are some import cooperation. All cooperation with the Song family is cancelled. Su Weifeng said coldly. Qin Zhiaoshan was shocked. The cooperation with the Song family was the main source of income for the Qin family. If the Song family did not cooperate, the Qin family's capital chain would be broken immediately, and a large number of enterprises would go bankrupt. Even if they could survive this disaster, the Qin family would no longer be ranked among the families in Ke City. This loss was definitely not something they could bear. Mr. Song, this is our fault. We can discuss everything. We have cooperated with the Song family for many years. If we cancel the cooperation for this matter, your Song family will suffer a great loss. Qin Yushan also felt that the Song family would not cancel the cooperation, based on Su Weifeng's words. After all, the interests of the family are the first priority, and the young Master Song who came did not have this right. He still had a little luck in his heart. This time, his family paid some money and had a better attitude, and the matter would be over. At this time, Jin Fifei and others were stunned. They knew that Feng Bao's boyfriend was a company owner. How could he become the big brother of a big family? What kind of identity and background was this? Was he a gangster boss in which city? They were full of imagination. Haha, what's the benefit? A word from Boss Su is in order. It is executed directly without reporting to the head of the family. Song Qijiang sneered. He also guessed what the Qin family was thinking. Su Weifeng nodded to Song Qijiang as a greeting, and then pulled Feng Bao, took Jin Fifei's family and Jiao Nana, and left the banquet hall. After Su Weifeng left, Song Qijiang immediately called to report, and arranged the termination of the cooperation one by one. These things were not done behind Qin Yushan's back. This time Qin Yushan believed it. All this was true, because Su Weifeng's Qin family was finished, and the root of all this was because of Jin Fifei. Thinking of this, he rushed up and slapped Qin Yang. This slap was hit with all his strength, and blood came out of the corner of Qin Yang's mouth. But Qin Yang seemed to be unaware, and was still in a daze. He also knew that the Qin family was finished. Suddenly, he thought that everything was because of Jin Fifei, and he wanted to find Jin Fifei and ask Jin Fifei to beg for mercy. As a result, he was stopped by Song Qijiang's bodyguards, and was not allowed to disturb Boss Su and others. Many family members also came to this wedding. Seeing that things had developed like this, they said goodbye, and went back to report the news. The attitude towards the Qin family began to change, and even the family that had good relations with the Qin family became cold. More people began to think about how to get in touch with the Song family. Whoever could take over the Qin family's channel would double their strength. As for the Gao family, the Song family will deal with it. Even without the Song family taking action, these families in Ke City will suppress and exclude them one after another to show their sincerity and please the Song family. Fei, what are your plans? Feng Bao and Su Weifeng were both in Jin Fifei's parents' room at this time. Jin Fifei smiled sadly. She didn't have any plans. She was not a native of Ke City. She met Qin Yang while working here. She thought she had met her Prince Charming, but she didn't expect him to be a scumbag. Fortunately, she hadn't registered yet. Now she just wanted to leave here, leave this sad place, and accompany her parents well. Her family conditions were not bad, but they couldn't be compared with these families. She would never consider the rich second generation of such families again in the future. Chapter 741 Comrades. Unexpectedly, she came to her best friend's wedding happily, but the result was like this. Feng Bao felt very uncomfortable. She felt sorry for her best friend for finding such a scumbag, but she was also glad that she didn't have a boyfriend. Suddenly, she looked at Qin Weifeng again, and she didn't know what she was thinking. The two had already left Ke City. They were originally planning to stay here for a few more days after attending the wedding, but now they were in no mood. Su Weifeng happened to have a few comrades in Washi. They were his comrades in the grassroots company. They had a good relationship. Later, they lost contact after going to Langxiao. Now it was a good time to go to Washi to see his comrades and then take a plane back to Yangcheng. Originally, the comrades didn't plan to take Feng Bao with them. It's convenient for men to drink, chat or do anything together, but Feng Bao insisted on following them and refused to go back first. Su Weifeng had no choice but to take him with him. Aren't you from the special forces? Why are your comrades still from the grassroots company? Su Weifeng and Feng Bao were on their way to Washi. Feng Bao was very curious about Su Weifeng's comrade. Of course, soldiers start from the grassroots level. There is no such thing as joining the special forces right after enlisting. Only those who become elites in the grassroots units are eligible to participate in the special forces selection. Su Weifeng patted his head and popularized the basic knowledge of the army to Feng Baoer. Have your comrades retired now? What are they doing now? Feng Baoer continued to ask. I heard that they retired, but I don't know what they are doing now. I haven't contacted them for a long time. I will call them when I arrive in Urumqi. Hello, is this Chujun? Su Weifeng found a number and dialed it. He was not sure whether his comrade had changed his number until a familiar voice came. I'm Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng said with a smile, as if he had returned to the past, back to the first time they met in the barracks. There was no sound over there, and then an excited voice came over. Is that you, madman? Madman, madman. Ha ha ha. Feng Baoer poked Su Weifeng with her finger and laughed non-stop, leaving Su Weifeng speechless. He almost forgot the nickname, but Feng Baoer knew it. I can't even recognize my voice. Su Weifeng said with a smile. Everyone lost contact with you after you were selected into the special forces. Are you retired? I'm on leave this time to do something in Urumqi. I remembered that your families are all in Urumqi. The efficiency of the soldiers was very fast. They directly booked a meal at Penglay Pavilion on Zeeman Street in an hour. Chujun was responsible for notifying the remaining few people. Chujun directly guaranteed that no one would be missing. Su Weifeng and Feng Baoer took a taxi and quickly arrived at Penglay Pavilion. This is a not so big restaurant, which was specially selected by Chujun. When they were in the army, they usually went to small restaurants to drink. This time, everyone chose this kind of restaurant again for nostalgia and to drink to their heart's content. What would you like to eat? We have barbecue and fried dishes. The waiter welcomed Su Weifeng and Feng Baoer into the store. We have friends who haven't arrived yet. Let's order later. Su Weifeng said politely. Okay, you sit down first and call me when you order. The waiter poured tea for the two and then left. It was almost dinner time, and the restaurant was gradually getting more and more people. Su Weifeng and Feng Baoer were chatting, and suddenly they felt someone standing beside them. Two men stopped by their table. Both of them were shirtless. One had a dragon tattoo on his chest, and the other had a Buddha head tattoo on his chest. Both of them stared at Feng Baoer, their eyes wandering back and forth between her face and chest, and their mouths were almost drooling. Beautiful brother, please have dinner with me, and I will take you to sing later. The man with the Buddha head tattoo pulled Su Weifeng and said to Feng Baoer with a lecherous look. The man suddenly paused. He wanted to pull Su Weifeng away and let him sit here, but Su Weifeng didn't move at all. He increased his strength, and his arm muscles bulged, and gradually his blood vessels bulged. Brother Zyro, what are you doing? Another man with a dragon tattoo also noticed something was wrong. He thought his companions were teasing him. Get lost. Su Weifeng glanced at the two thugs and uttered only one word. Boy, are you tired of living? The man with a dragon tattoo kicked Su Weifeng in the face. Brother Zyro, who had a Buddha tattoo, understood what he meant and turned from pulling Su Weifeng's hand to pressing Su Weifeng, making it impossible for him to dodge the kick. Su Weifeng made a lightning fast move, directly grabbed Brother Zyro's wrist, and pulled it in front of him. Brother Zyro felt a huge force that he could not match and could not break free at all. At this time, the other man's kick also arrived and kicked Brother Zyro's elbow hard. Ah! Brother Zyro was in so much pain that cold sweat ran down his head. This kick was not light, and it was a dislocation of the joint. This arm could not move at the time, and it was unknown whether it was broken. Su Weifeng quickly stood up and slapped the man with the dragon tattoo on his shoulders with a backhand. He saw stars and crashed into the next table, falling on a plate of pork elbows. When the people at this table saw the fight, they hurried to the side to avoid being hurt. Fuck. Ah, what? Do you still want to treat my girlfriend to a meal? Su Weifeng sneered. Okay, you have guts. Wait, you wait. Zyro ran out while saying this, and the other man followed him out. I said I wouldn't take you out. You can't even eat properly. Su Weifeng said to Feng Baoer with a tearful face. It's not my fault that I'm naturally beautiful. Besides, if you don't care if others bully your girlfriend, you are not a man. Feng Bao said very proudly and blinked at Sui Feng. I'm saving their lives. They don't know that what they are looking at is not a little sheep, but a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Ha 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 ha. Sui Feng couldn't help laughing when he thought of this name. Laugh, laugh, I'll make you laugh. Feng Bao kicked Sui Feng under the table. After all, she was a girl. Although she had a hot temper, she didn't like being called a Tyrannosaurus by others, especially Sui Feng. Sui Feng's legs dodged left and right, making it impossible for Feng Bao to kick him. Feng Bao was so angry that she grabbed Sui Feng's arm and opened her mouth to bite him. Sui Feng was so scared that he pushed Feng Bao's head. How did she learn to bite people from Tao Tao? With Feng Bao's hot temper, she would bite off a piece of meat with this bite. At this time, the waiter came over and asked Sui Feng and the others to leave quickly, telling them that the two were gangsters of the same generation in the neighborhood, and they would definitely not let this matter go today, and would come back for revenge soon. But obviously the waiter didn't expect the two gangsters to be so fast. Before Sui Feng could say anything, the door was pushed open, and there were also hurried footsteps. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 742. Thousands of troops come to meet. Brother Long used these two people to beat us. Yes, it was them. The two people just now came in with a young man with a scar on his forehead, followed by more than a dozen people. The small restaurant was crowded with people. The diners saw that they were not sober, so they had no intention of eating here. They ran out one after another to avoid getting into trouble. Hey, the bill hasn't been paid yet. Pay the bill. The two waiters shouted anxiously. Some tables had all the dishes served, and some were almost finished eating. Now they all ran away and no one paid the bill. They lost money today. It was useless to shout. No one listened to them. In a few seconds, Sui Feng and the people brought by Brother Long were the only ones left in the room. Where are you from, brother? I'm Wang Long from West Street. All the brothers in the underworld call me Brother Long for face. Brother, you beat up two of my brothers today. Shouldn't you give me some explanation? Brother Long had asked clearly before coming. This Xiao Zhen and another young man were no match for Sui Feng alone, and they could be killed in seconds. Xiao Zhen and the other young man were not new to the underworld. Although their skills were average, and they were not masters, street fights were commonplace. The one who made them unable to fight back must be a master. He didn't know Sui Feng's background either, so he was going to find out who he was. If he was just good at fighting, then there would be no problem. Even a good tiger can't stand up to a pack of wolves. He brought more than 30 people today, and he really didn't believe that he couldn't get Sui Feng. But if he really had a big background, and was someone he couldn't afford to offend, then he would accept it. He would just take a loss and make peace. Oh, you don't seem to be qualified to know my background. Haha. Sui Feng looked at Brother Long and shook his head. Brother Long's eyes widened, staring at Sui Feng. Brother, you are not giving me face, so don't blame me for being rude. Do you have face? Get out of here. Sui Feng really didn't give him face. In the eyes of the sharp sword of the country, a gangster really had no face at all, whether in status or strength. Please stop fighting. It's not easy for us to run a shop. The boss is not here today. We can't afford it. A waitress said in a crying voice. Then let's go out. We can't do anything here. Sui Feng stood up and walked out. Feng Bao followed him closely. No problem. Let's go out and solve it. Don't delay other people's business. Brother Long saw Sui Feng going out, and he didn't stop him. There were more than 10 people outside who hadn't come in yet. It would be more beneficial for them to go out. As soon as Sui Feng got outside, he and Feng Bao were surrounded by more than 30 people, several circles inside and outside, and they were holding weapons in their hands, including steel pipes, clubs, machetes, etc. Feng Bao stared at the people around her with a serious face, ready to take action at any time, but she was not sure. She was not afraid of anyone in a one-on-one fight, and she dared to fight against Kailang. With so many people holding weapons, she was a little panicked. She was hot-tempered, but not stupid. Brother Long, right? You really think highly of me? You called so many people to deal with me. Su Weifeng suddenly laughed. My brother Long is a brother who is very loyal. Seeing that you are a newcomer, I will give you a chance. If you follow me, I will guarantee that you can walk sideways in this area, pick any woman you want, and eat delicious food and drink spicy drinks. Brother Long saw that Su Weifeng was good at fighting and very courageous. He could still talk and laugh freely when surrounded by so many people, so he wanted to conquer him. Why don't you follow me? I will also guarantee that you can eat delicious food and drink spicy drinks. Su Weifeng said, imitating Brother Long. Okay, you are very good. I hope you can still be so tough later. Brothers, cut him. Brother Long shouted and rushed towards Su Weifeng with his men. Wait. Su Weifeng stretched out his hand and made a stop gesture. Brother Long and others didn't know why and really stopped. What's wrong, kid? Are you scared now? But it's too late. Brother Long laughed. No, I suddenly want to play a game. Su Weifeng said, and took out a chopstick he was playing with, and threw it into the sky. A sound of breaking through the air sounded, and everyone looked up at the chopstick that flew into the sky and didn't fall for a long time. A cloud-piercing arrow. Su Weifeng shouted. Brother Long was startled and found that Su Weifeng didn't react at all, so he was relieved, thinking that he was scared silly. At this time, thousands of troops. A powerful male voice sounded from the north of the road, followed by a chaotic sound of footsteps. A muscular man about 1.8 meters tall and weighing about 200 kilograms wearing a tight suit led a dozen smaller muscular men to run towards this side. These muscular men were like steamrollers, and the ground was shaking as they ran. 10,000 horses. Another clear voice sounded, and a group of people appeared from the south. The leader was a strong man, followed by a dozen young men in shorts and hand bandages. Each of them had sharp eyes, like hungry wolves. Come and meet me. The back door of the hotel suddenly opened, and a man with a sinister smile came out, carrying a Japanese sword more than 1 meter long on his shoulder. Behind him, more than a dozen people slowly walked out, each of them holding a Japanese samurai sword in their hands, and wearing protective gear on their heads. Haha. 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 Several men laughed at the same time, but it was a bit creepy to Brother Long. Who are these people? There are even people holding samurai swords. We are just fighting, not killing people. Don't play like this. Brother Long panicked at that time. He was outnumbered. In terms of personal combat power, whether it was those muscular men or boxers, they were all completely defeated by these gangsters. What's more, there were those holding samurai swords. Why did they feel like the murderers on TV? As soon as they measured their combat power, they ran away. Stop, who dares to run? Su Weifeng shouted, like a tiger roar, shaking people's eardrums. After Su Weifeng shouted, these gangsters ran faster. If they didn't run at this time, they would be fools. They were all experienced in street fighting. If they could beat them, they would fight, and if they couldn't beat them, they would run. This was also the combat experience passed down by the older generation. Su Weifeng kicked Brother Long who wanted to run away, and looked at him with a smile. Brother Long's back felt cold and his hair stood on end. Long's men were also beaten upside down. Brother Zhao was being held by a muscle man, doing bodybuilding moves. Poor Brother Zhao's face turned blue and his tongue was hanging out. Some were used as sandbags by boxers, who hit them with a combination of punches. Soon, all the gangsters were wiped out. Except for a few who ran away quickly, these gangsters knelt in a row by the wall. Long also consciously joined the ranks, and shared the happiness with his brothers. Long time no see, madman. The three men laughed, and came to Su Weifeng, holding their hands tightly. Chapter 743 Asleep? Are these your comrades? Feng Bao had already reacted from her days. She was very smart, and guessed what was going on. Ah, crazy, you brought your sister-in-law here. Hurry up and introduce her to us. The muscular man was the first to say. Hello sister-in-law, I'm Zhao Xiaodao. The man with the samurai sword rushed to say. Hello sister-in-law, my name is Pei Yan. The man with the hand bandage said. Hey, you guys are not like this. I was the first to say it. Hello sister-in-law, my name is Niu Dali. The muscular man said hurriedly. Feng Bao's face was a little red. At the wedding, she asked Su Weifeng to pretend to be her boyfriend. She said it very naturally. At this time, it was already agreed that they were friends. These people were so enthusiastic and called her sister-in-law, which made her a little embarrassed. She quickly turned her head to Su Weifeng and waited for him to come to the rescue. "This is my girlfriend, Feng Baoa," Su Weifeng said naturally. Feng Baoa's eyes widened. How come this is different from what he said before? You didn't explain it. She felt uneasy. Could it be that you came in time? We still cooperated so well. Haha. Su Weifeng was very happy. As soon as he went out, he saw these three guys watching the fun at the door. When they saw him, they made a gesture to wait and ran out. Su Weifeng probably guessed that they had called someone, so he delayed the time. He didn't expect them to come back so soon, just in time to finish a cloud-piercing arrow. "We all have shops nearby, so we asked you to come here for dinner," Pei Yan said. "Let me guess, you are not running a boxing gym, a fitness gym, or a sword gym?" Feng Bao guessed with a very sensitive professional sense. Sister-in-law is really amazing. She guessed it right at once. "You are worthy of being someone who can take down a madman," Niu Dali said with a smile. "Dali Niu, your poses are simply living advertisements. It's hard not to guess. These people actually want to make a madman. We have to teach them a lesson, to relieve the madman and his sister-in-law." Zhao Xiaodao suddenly looked at the row of people squatting in the corner and said with a fierce look in his eyes, "How should we do it? How about breaking 2 legs for each of them?" Niu Dali thought for a while and suggested, "Brothers, I was wrong. Please forgive us. I won't dare to do it again." When he heard that his legs were to be broken, Brother Long was also scared and hurriedly begged for mercy. His younger brothers also rushed to admit their mistakes. With such a good attitude of admitting mistakes, several people didn't know how to deal with them. They all cast their eyes on Su Weifeng. This matter was also caused by Su Weifeng, so let him make the decision. Call the police and let the police solve it. Feng Bao was still used to letting the police handle everything. It's better not to call the police. We have to record the confession and take notes. It takes too much time. Su Weifeng shook his head and disagreed with calling the police. He didn't like dealing with the police either. "How about this? Let's punish them by asking them to treat us to a meal. Does Brother Long have any objection?" Su Weifeng thought for a while and said, No, it's my honor to treat the bosses to a meal." Brother Long relaxed when he heard that he didn't have to break his legs and kept repeating in his heart, "It's not just us, there are also these brothers." Su Weifeng pointed at the people brought by Dali Niu and his friends, adding up to more than 40 people. Long's heart tightened when he saw them. With so many people, how much would it cost to treat them to a meal? Then he realized that saving his life was the most important thing, so he quickly agreed. "It's as it should be. Brothers, you've worked hard." Brother Long and his brothers didn't leave either. They stayed here to eat. The two groups directly booked the small restaurant. Su Weifeng and Feng Bao naturally shared a table. The drinking lasted until the late night. Not only did Su Weifeng and his comrades get drunk, but Feng Bao also drank without any airs. Several comrades gave thumbs up and praised the heroine. Brother Long and others also took the lead in toasting. Brother Long's brothers and the people brought by Niu Dali and others also drank together. If you didn't know, you would definitely think they were good brothers, not enemies who had just fought. At the end, there were only a few people left standing, so Su Weifeng said goodbye to his 3 comrades. It was unknown when they would see each other again. The 3 comrades also knew that Su Weifeng came back to recuperate and would have to return to the army soon. They were all soldiers. Although they didn't know which unit Su Weifeng was in, they knew that it was not easy for a special forces unit to come out once, and this separation might be indefinite. Thinking of this, the men's eyes were a little wet, but they all held back and didn't let the tears flow. The men hugged each other hard, then walked away and didn't look back. Niu Dali's tears finally flowed at this time. Men, haha, men can cry too. Su Weifeng was supporting Feng Bao, who was like a puddle of mud. Feng Bao suddenly said something. Looking at Feng Bao, she had fallen asleep. Su Weifeng smiled bitterly and shook his head, carried Feng Bao on his back, and dragged the luggage to the hotel. "Boss, let's get a room." Su Weifeng found a hotel at random. It was already late at night, and he didn't care whether it was good or bad. He just wanted to sleep. The boss was a woman in her 50s. Seeing Su Weifeng carrying an obviously unconscious woman on his back, she looked at Su Weifeng warily. After Su Weifeng explained and took out Feng Bao's police ID, the boss finally believed that Su Weifeng was not a man with bad intentions and opened a large bedroom for them. This was also Su Weifeng's way of taking care of Feng Bao. Although he had drunk too much, Feng Bao was obviously completely drunk, and he could still find out if anything happened. Just after Feng Bao was thrown on the bed, Su Weifeng also fell down. At this time, the after effects of the wine also came up. Su Weifeng only felt dizzy and soon fell asleep. That night, Su Weifeng dreamed of the military camp and the wake-up whistle. When the whistle sounded, Su Weifeng was awakened by a scream. Feng Bao sat up in dishevel. Her pants were staring down, the opening of her clothes was all open, and some buttons were broken. Feng Bao looked at Su Weifeng with horror. Her face was red and blue. Su Weifeng was a little panicked when he saw this scene. Did he really do something to Bao last night after drinking too much? He was scared when he thought about it. If it was Len Zhuangxuan and the others, it would not matter, even if something really happened. After all, they were all his girlfriends. But Feng Bao was not like that. If he really did anything to her, he would be a bit beastly. You slept with me? Feng Bao said coldly, and then suddenly burst into tears, which scared Su Weifeng. He had never seen Feng Bao so weak before. He panicked and didn't know how to comfort her. No, Bao, look at my clothes. They are straight. If we were really, I wouldn't be like this. Su Weifeng suddenly found the problem. Feng Bao heard it and looked at Su Weifeng. It was indeed the case. Although the clothes were a little messy, it was because of the pressure from sleeping. Suddenly, Feng Bao remembered a dream. In the dream, she was very hot, so she pulled her clothes desperately, and then she felt comfortable. It turned out that this was not a dream. Chapter 744. Enemies meet on a narrow road. You put it on yourself. You must have been very wild at night. You have to be responsible for me. Feng Bao couldn't admit that she took off her clothes in her dream at night. It would be so embarrassing to say it out loud. She just gritted her teeth and went all out. Su Weifeng felt bitter. I really didn't know anything. If something really happened, I didn't know it. It was really a bit of a loss. I can be responsible for you and be your boyfriend, but I can't make a promise to you. You also know that I'm married and there are women around me. If you are willing, it's fine. Su Weifeng gritted his teeth and said bluntly, you are dreaming. So many girlfriends are not enough, you big pervert. I don't want it. Feng Bao was a little flustered when she heard Su Weifeng's words. It's not that she had never thought about being Su Weifeng's girlfriend. Su Weifeng is such an excellent man. He has money and strength. It is really difficult to find a man better than him. But this is just a thought. If she really has to choose, she doesn't know what to do. Then how can you let me be responsible for you? Su Weifeng said with a bitter face. Feng Bao thought for a moment and said, I haven't thought about it yet. I'll tell you when I think about it. Remember you owe me. Su Weifeng had no choice but to agree. Who made him drink too much? Drinking is a mistake. Ouch. Feng Bao was feeling proud, but suddenly she covered her stomach and cried out. Her stomach had always been bad. She went to the hospital for a checkup. The doctor asked her to do a gastroscopy. She was very resistant to this. She was unwilling to do it every time she got better. Now she doesn't know the specific cause of the disease. Many people with stomach pain are in this situation. What's wrong with Bao? Su Weifeng thought Feng Bao was pretending at first, but when he saw Feng Bao's face twisted and cold sweats coming down, he knew it was true. He hurried over to check the situation. My stomach hurts. It hurts so much. My stomach is broken. Give me a new one. Feng Bao was really in pain and squeezed out a few words from between her teeth. Su Weifeng knew that Feng Bao was a very strong girl. She persisted in his inhuman training, which showed how serious her stomach pain was. Bao, it's okay. It will be fine in a while. I'll give you a massage. Seeing Feng Bao in so much pain, Su Weifeng's heart couldn't help but twitch. Was this heartache? He didn't have time to think about this problem now. Su Weifeng put his hand on Feng Bao's stomach, and the true qi was transmitted from his hand to Feng Bao's body. This process was very slow. Through the true qi, Su Weifeng was exploring the condition of Feng Bao's stomach. Feng Bao's stomach was twitching irregularly. This was the reason for Feng Bao's pain, stomach spasm. Under the effect of the true qi, Feng Bao only felt a stream of heat wrapped around her stomach, and she felt much more comfortable immediately. The twitching feeling in her stomach was also relieved. This lasted for more than 10 minutes, and the severe pain in her stomach finally disappeared, leaving only a little dull pain. Seeing Feng Bao's tense body slowly relax, Su Weifeng also breathed a sigh of relief. His treatment worked. At this time, there was green smoke coming out of his head. It was a great burden for him to actually use a true qi to treat Feng Bao in this subtle way. He felt like he was going to collapse. Feng Bao guessed the situation when she saw Su Weifeng's expression. He must have exhausted too much energy to treat her. She used her sleeve to help Su Weifeng wipe his sweat, her eyes full of guilt. "I'm fine. I'll be fine after a rest. Is your stomach better now?" Su Weifeng said with a smile. "It's much better now, but it still hurts a little. I really felt like I was going to die just now." Feng Bao said with lingering fear, thinking about the feeling just now. "When I treated you just now, I found that your stomach pain was caused by spasm." Feng Bao nodded, confirming Su Weifeng's statement that her stomach just felt like twitching. But stomach spasm is just a symptom, not a disease. To determine the cause of the spasm, you have to go to the hospital for examination. Su Weifeng looked at Feng Bao and said seriously, "You can't find out the cause?" Feng Bao believed that Su Weifeng could cure any disease, and she trusted him blindly. Unexpectedly, Su Weifeng didn't find out what her stomach disease was. "I'm a human, not a court machine, and I can't see what's going on in your stomach." Su Weifeng rubbed Feng Bao's head speechlessly. "I'll take you to the hospital now. Only after the results are checked can we get the right treatment. Hurry up and get dressed. Can't you not go? I'll be fine in a moment." Feng Bao looked at Su Weifeng pleadingly. "No, now that you have stomach pain, we can find out the cause of the disease and treat it quickly. Otherwise, you'll be in pain sooner or later." Under Su Weifeng's repeated coaxing and intimidation, Feng Bao had to agree to go to the hospital. This was also because Su Weifeng was by her side, otherwise she wouldn't have gone. Taking Feng Bao to the largest hospital in Urumqi, the central hospital, Su Weifeng ran around to get Feng Bao an appointment. Since the expert appointments were not available every day, and the old expert in gastroenterology only saw patients once a week, Su Weifeng had to make an appointment with an ordinary doctor. At this time, there was already a long queue outside the clinic. Su Weifeng roughly estimated that there were more than a dozen patients waiting in front of them, excluding the family members accompanying the patients. The crying of children, the groaning of patients, and the scolding of nurses to maintain order made no one feel good in this environment. Su Weifeng comforted Feng Bao, otherwise it would be a waste of time if she ran away. Finally, it was Su Weifeng and Feng Bao's turn, and they were the next. "Move aside, move aside." A middle-aged woman pushed Feng Bao, who was standing at the door, and opened the door to go in. "What are you doing? Why don't you queue up?" Feng Bao grabbed the middle-aged woman and asked. "I came to see Dr. Wang. What does it have to do with you?" The middle-aged woman glanced at Feng Bao, glared, and said confidently. "Another queue jumping." An old man behind Feng Bao muttered unhappily, going through the back door. "It's been a long time since this happened. Why doesn't anyone take care of it? What can we do? We still have to rely on doctors to see patients." The people in the queue were very dissatisfied with the middle-aged woman for cutting in line, but she was looking for a doctor directly. Although they were angry, they could do nothing about it. They were still waiting for treatment, so of course they couldn't offend her. Everywhere you go, it's all about ability. If you don't have the ability, just wait. Haha. The middle-aged woman shook off Feng Bao and walked into the clinic with a smug look on her face. The patients in the queue were very angry after hearing what the woman said. This was a big blow to a large group of people, but they just complained and continued to queue. Others could tolerate it, but Feng Bao couldn't, so she went straight into the clinic. "Doctor, how can you let others cut in line? What right does she have? Feng Bao was stunned in the middle of the sentence. At this time, she knew the doctor in the clinic, and Su Weifeng also knew him. Wasn't he the overseas retinue doctor she met on the train, named Wang Wenyi, who was beaten by Su Weifeng at that time? It was really a narrow road for enemies. Chapter 745. I won't read it anymore. Wang Wenyi was sitting behind his desk calmly. He was obviously stunned when he saw Feng Bao and Su Weifeng coming in, but then he smiled triumphantly. Isn't this a miracle, doctor? Are you surprised to see me? Are you a doctor here? Feng Bao said subconsciously. In fact, this is self-evident. Why are you surprised? The central hospital is the best hospital in the province. Ordinary doctors can't come here. The dean personally invited me. I can't refuse to give him face, because he is so sincere. But this is also because I have the ability. Foreign medical universities are not famous for nothing. The strength is here. Unlike some people who can only cheat and deceive. Wang Wei looked at Su Weifeng and Feng Bao, and he felt very happy. He had just entered this hospital and had a lot of connections. He is still an intern now, but this has made him very proud. On the train, she was overshadowed by Su Weifeng and laughed at by the passengers. She lost face. Today, she felt her face back when she saw Su Weifeng in her clinic. This bluffing Chinese medicine doctor is simply not comparable to her. They are not on the same level. Feng Bao stared at Wang Wenyi's work ID and laughed disdainfully. You brag about being so famous, but you are actually an intern. Su Weifeng also laughed in agreement, his eyes full of disdain. Regardless of Wang Wenyi's medical skills, his medical ethics are not very good. What's wrong with being an intern? With my qualifications as a retinue, it won't take long for me to be a chief physician in this hospital. Are you here to see a doctor? Wang Wei suddenly thought of how Su Weifeng and Feng Bao could suddenly come to her clinic. They must be here to see a doctor, and they can only beg her. Is there someone cutting in line here? Can I complain to you? Feng Bao said coldly, pointing at the middle-aged woman. She didn't expect Wang Wei to treat her. She didn't want to find such a person. I'm not here to see Dr. Wang. Dr. Wang is my relative. I have something to ask him. The middle-aged woman was very sensible. She knew what to say without Wang Wei saying anything. Wang Wei looked at Su Weifeng with pride, and Feng Bao was so angry that she wanted to kick him, but she could do nothing about it. Dr. Wang, you must make an appointment for me to have my stomach checked today, the middle-aged woman said again. Don't worry, you will be the first one to have a gastroscopy in the afternoon. Go and wait. Wang Wei said solemnly, and the middle-aged woman thanked him profusely and left. It's our turn now. We don't need to see the doctor. Just make an appointment for her to have a gastroscopy as well. Su Weifeng was very disdainful of this guy who was showing off in front of him. He felt good about himself, just because he was an intern, but he was just a joke in front of Su Weifeng. He didn't intend to argue with him. He would only lower himself if he argued with such a person. Su Weifeng didn't come to the hospital to see a doctor. He just wanted to check Feng Bao. When the results came out, he would know how to treat her, and his purpose would be achieved. Aren't you a miracle doctor? Just a few needles will do. Why do you come to the hospital for a checkup? Wang Wei looked at Su Weifeng and Feng Bao with a playful smile on his face. Are you kidding us? Feng Bao said angrily. Don't talk nonsense. I treat illnesses and save lives. Am I weird? Wang Wei pretended to be innocent, but everyone could see the smile in his eyes. Don't worry about our business. My friend is going to have a gastroscopy now. Su Weifeng said calmly. In his eyes, Wang Wei was just an ant. How could the lion take it seriously when an ant shows off in front of a lion? Sorry, I have something to deal with now. You can wait until the afternoon to see the doctor. Wang Wei said as he hung a sign at the door of the clinic and stretched out his hand to Su Weifeng and Feng Bao, motioning them to go out. What's going on? It's only 11 o'clock and you're already having lunch break? The old man behind him got anxious and shouted at Wang Wei, but Wang Wei ignored him and continued to look at Su Weifeng with a smile. We've been waiting for the whole morning. If we see him in the afternoon, we won't be able to finish today. The people in the queue behind him talked together and were very dissatisfied, but Wang Wei turned a blind eye to them and didn't care at all. Is this how you treat and save people? You just leave so many patients here and don't care? You just say you don't want to see them and don't see them anymore. Su Weifeng was angry this time. Wang Wen's making things difficult for him could be considered as revenge, but leaving so many patients here, including several elderly people, was too much. I'm a doctor and I have the final say. If I want to see you, I'll see you. If I don't want to see you, just wait. Ha ha ha. Wang Wen laughed sinisterly, very proud, as if he could decide other people's life and death at will. Where is your department leader? I'm going to complain to your leader about you. A young man was fed up. He asked for leave during working hours to see a doctor. He was supposed to take half a day off, but all the time was wasted. Our department director is on vacation today. You really can't find anyone to complain to, and I'm not feeling well and need to rest for a while. This is a good reason. What are you complaining about? Doctors are not human beings. Do you have to be exhausted to death? Wang Wei said arrogantly, very proud, not tired at all. Feng Bao was furious and was about to rush up to beat the doctor, but was stopped by Su Weifeng. Stomach problems are most afraid of anger, and emotions have a great impact on the stomach. Feng Bao's stomach spasmed again when she was excited, and her face turned pale. She squatted down, holding her stomach. Bao, bear it for a while. Su Weifeng hurriedly helped Feng Bao to the side and gently massaged Feng Bao's stomach, but he didn't dare to mobilize his true energy with so many people present. However, after his massage, Feng Bao's pain was relieved a little. This little girl has a stomachache and her face is pale. Why don't you take a look at her quickly? The old man behind saw Feng Bao's illness, but the doctor still turned a blind eye and said angrily to Wang Wei, "It's not me who made her sick. It has nothing to do with me. Don't put such a big accusation on me." Wang Wei waved his hand and sneered. "Besides, I'm in the outpatient clinic. If you are in an emergency, you have to go to the emergency room. How can you be so ignorant? Go quickly. If you delay the treatment, don't blame me for not reminding you. Alas, you said that I have to worry about you while I'm sick. It's not easy for me," Wang Wei said anxiously. The old man was so angry that he almost had a seizure. He sat down and gasped. The others also blamed Wang Wei. They really had never seen such an arrogant doctor. If he was not in uniform, who would have thought he was a doctor? Su Weifeng took out his phone, found a number and dialed it. "Duki Jiang, I'm at Wuzhang Central Hospital. Can you help me find the best gastroenterologist here?" "Don't worry, Boss Su, I'll contact you right away." Duki Jiang patted his chest and promised when he saw that it was Su Weifeng's call, and then contacted him immediately. Their Song family not only invested in the Qin family, but also had shares in this central hospital. Chapter 746, Never Hired. The best gastroenterologist. That's Mr. Chen, the honorary vice president of our hospital. He only sees patients 1 day a week. I want to see which doctor you can find. Wang Wei snorted. He didn't believe that Su Weifeng could find any doctor. If he really knew someone, he would have found someone directly. Like the middle-aged woman just now. Why would she run here to line up? Wang Wei didn't leave yet. He was waiting here, waiting to see Su Weifeng's joke. "If you pretend in front of me, I'll wait to see you get slapped in the face. Young man, take your girlfriend to the emergency room quickly. Don't delay anymore," the old man said kindly. He also thought that Su Weifeng called deliberately for the doctor to hear. Young people like to save face. "Brother, go quickly. It's not worth it to argue with such a person. The main thing is to see a doctor," another young man also said. None of these patients left. Although the doctor didn't see them anymore, some were still waiting to see them in the afternoon, and some were just watching the fun. They watched the confrontation between the young couple and the doctor, and saw what the result would be. Anyway, they were free. 10 minutes later, Wang Wei looked at the time, and was about to taunt Su Weifeng, when suddenly a burst of hurried footsteps came, and a fat man in a suit and a white-haired old man in a cycling suit appeared at the stairs, and hurriedly ran to the gastroenterology clinic. Wang Wei looked at the two people running over with some surprise, and a bad premonition was rising in his heart. He knew both of them. The fat man in the suit was the hospital's director, Director Yuan, and the white-haired old man was the gastroenterology expert, Mr. Chen. "Director Yuan, Mr. Chen, what are you doing?" Wang Wei said nervously, praying in his heart that they must be passing by. Xiao Wang, where is Boss Su? The fat man in the suit grabbed Wang Wei and asked anxiously. Boss Su? Wang Wei didn't understand, and he didn't know Su Weifeng's name. I'm Su Weifeng. My friend is suffering from severe gastric cramps and needs treatment. Su Weifeng helped Feng Bao stand up from the stool. Wang Wei sat down on the ground, staring at Su Weifeng and the fat man in front of him who was extremely respectful. Ding Yuan always looked cold and cold. Wang Wei had never seen him smile, but now he had a professional smile on his face, and his attitude towards Su Weifeng was even more so. The people watching the excitement were also stunned. What kind of boss is this young man? The call was not just a doctor, but the dean. He thought he was bluffing before, but now he knew that he had the ability and the call just now was real. Everyone looked at Su Weifeng with awe. They didn't know where this big shot was, and they didn't dare to speak anymore. Hello, I'm the Dean Yuan Bao here, and this is Mr. Chen, a gastroenterologist in our hospital. Mr. Chen is resting today and is cycling. We hurried over after receiving your call. Sorry for being late. Dean Yuan said carefully. This is a person called the boss by the hospital shareholders, or the big brother in Song Hejiang's words. Although he is the dean, he is just an employee. This person is paying him a salary, so he has to serve him well. Mr. Chen, please take this lady to the hospital for a checkup. Be sure to check her carefully. Dean Yuan ordered Mr. Chen and called to nurses to accompany Feng Bao throughout the checkup. The blood test was done directly in Mr. Chen's office. All the steps that could be simplified were simplified, and Feng Bao was given an exclusive channel that was more VIP than VIP. This doctor is not feeling well and can't treat us. Su Weifeng pointed at Wang Wei and said to Dean Yuan calmly. Wang Wei's heart skipped a beat and sank. What was supposed to come always came. Dean Yuan looked at Wang Wei in confusion, but he also felt that Wang Wei seemed to have something to do with Boss Su. Dean Yuan, I was feeling a little unwell just now, so I didn't treat this gentleman. Wang Wei hurriedly explained. Dean Yuan's face sank at that time. It's okay for you to rest for a while before seeing a doctor, because you are not feeling well. Doctors are not robots. This is understandable, but you don't want to treat Boss Su. No reason is acceptable. This is a big deal. This doctor and this guy have a conflict, so he won't treat his friend. He told this doctor that everyone here has to listen to him. He can treat whoever he wants to treat, and won't treat whoever he doesn't want to treat. So many of us have been waiting in line for a whole morning, and he won't treat patients after just one sentence. I want to complain. How can there be such a doctor? These patients who were watching the fun talked a lot, listing all kinds of crimes of Wang Wei. They had no way to complain just now, but now that the dean was here, they vented all their grievances. Dean Yuan also understood the general situation now. It turned out that he had thought it was simple. This Wang Wei didn't offend Su Weifeng unintentionally because he was not feeling well and stopped seeing patients. Instead, he did it on purpose. Moreover, he was particularly arrogant. Not only was he targeting Su Weifeng, but he also embarrassed the doctor in front of so many patients. Dean Yuan's face turned green. Wang Wei had offended Boss Su so much. Just now, his girlfriend was in so much pain, and he was still sneering at her. How could I explain this to Boss Su? If this matter is not handled well, it will affect the Song family's investment in the hospital. At the most, his position will be lost. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. Wang Wei, you are so good. You dare to offend Boss Su. You have no medical ethics. Our hospital can't afford you. Pack up your things and get out. Now, immediately. Dean Yuan yelled at Wang Wei. He hadn't been so angry for a long time. Who was the idiot who recruited him to the hospital? He would have to deal with him later. Dean Yuan, you can't fire me. I graduated from a famous medical university abroad. I'm a retiny. Wang Wei shouted at the top of his lungs. He just flew up, but fell heavily to the ground. Returned overseas? Haha, turtles are useless. Our country emphasizes benevolence, justice, courtesy, wisdom, and trustworthiness. The medical ethics of doctors is the bottom line. No matter how high your medical skills are, we will not use you if you don't have medical ethics. Okay, the dean said it well. The people around were infected by the dean's words and applauded. The dean called the Human Resources Department to handle Wang Wen's dismissal procedures and wrote the reasons in the file and marked it as never to be hired again. No, Wang Wen was dragged out by the security guards while wailing. He would never be able to return to the central hospital in his life. Moreover, with this black mark in his file, it would be difficult to find a decent hospital. No hospital is willing to accept a doctor without medical ethics. Su Weifeng was very satisfied with the hospital's handling of the matter. Seeing that Su Weifeng was satisfied, Dean Yuan was relieved. This disaster was finally over. In order to make up for the losses caused by Wang Wen to these patients were all lined up in front of Chen Liao's clinic. The experts who usually couldn't get an appointment were happy to see them today. No one pursued what happened just now. It was just a pity for Chen Liao. The time for good exercise turned into overtime. Chapter 747 Miracle Doctor. Since the lights were green all the way, Feng Bao's test results came out very quickly. Even during the test, Feng Bao didn't feel any pain, which made Feng Bao regret that, if she had known it was so easy, she would have checked it earlier. Old Chen analyzed Feng Bao's test results in detail with Su Weifeng and Feng Bao. Feng Bao had some gastric ulcers, which were generally caused by irregular meals. It was no wonder that Feng Bao, a violent policewoman, had to work hard for her job, so she didn't care whether she had eaten or not. When she had a mission, it was common to have only one meal a day, and the time was even more uncertain. This disease was not a big deal. He prescribed some medicine and asked Feng Bao to pay attention to nourishing her stomach. This disease was 3/10 medicine and 7/10 nourishment. He also said some things that needed attention. Su Weifeng and Feng Bao thanked old Chen and left the hospital together. Su Weifeng was going to prepare some herbs for Feng Bao and then use Marxibustion to pull out the cold inside. If you pay a little attention, you can get rid of it quickly. As soon as you leave the hospital gate, a young man's voice came up. Miracle Doctor? Why are you here? Su Weifeng was stunned by the word Miracle Doctor. It seemed that the call was directed at him. But why was it a Miracle Doctor? He could understand if he was called Boss Su. Feng Bao was also very confused and thought that he had recognized the wrong person. When this young man in his 20s walked up to him and stared at Su Weifeng with a fanatical look, Su Weifeng finally remembered who this young man was. On the train to Ke City, when Su Weifeng was saving people, there were many passengers watching, including this young man. He was with his father at the time and cheered for him. He didn't expect to see him in Washi and recognize him. The young man looked like a college student. His eyes revealed innocence. He said to Su Weifeng with admiration, "Miracle Doctor, I saw you just now. I didn't dare to recognize you, but when I saw this young lady, I was sure. The sister is so beautiful that I can't forget her at first sight. Haha, you have good taste." Feng Bao winked at Su Weifeng proudly. "Why are you here? Didn't you go to Ke City?" Su Weifeng said casually. "My family is in Washi. I went to Kashi with my father to visit an old doctor." The young man's eyes suddenly lit up. "Godly doctor, my grandfather is sick, very sick. My father and I went to Kashi to find a very famous doctor, but when we told him the situation, the doctor said he couldn't treat him. Your acupuncture is so powerful that you can save dying old people. You can definitely save my grandfather, please." The young man told about his grandfather's situation. This young man is called Mao Yang. He is a member of the Mao family, a big family in Washi. His grandfather is called Mao Nan. His grandfather suddenly fainted in the company half a month ago. He was rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment. No problems were found, but his body was getting weaker and weaker, and he never woke up. Mao Nan is the head of the Mao family. With Mao Nan, the Mao family is a first-tier family in Washi. This is also the network and prestige that Mao Nan has worked hard to build in his life. If the old man is really gone, the enemies of the Mao family will definitely not miss this opportunity to attack the Mao family. It will be difficult for the Mao family to keep its current position. So the Mao family went around looking for experts, hoping to save Mao Nan. Saving Mao Nan means saving the Mao family. When Su Weifeng heard that he was asked to save someone, he was very reluctant. He would save someone if he could. If everyone who knew him asked him to save someone, he could change his career and become a doctor instead of a soldier. Mao Yang saw that Su Weifeng was not interested, and he was anxious. He said, "Godly doctor, if you can save my grandfather, my Mao family will give you 100 million as a reward." 100 million. Feng Bao's eyes lit up when she heard this number, and she couldn't help but look at Su Weifeng. Although Feng Bao was not a realistic girl, this number was attractive enough. Ordinary people couldn't earn it in several lifetimes. Su Weifeng knew that this was a hot potato. This 100 million was different from some families who came to trouble him. The money was equivalent to actively stuffing it into his hands. The reward for seeing a doctor reached 100 million, which must not be so easy to treat. However, seeing Feng Bao's eagerness to try and the young man's anxious look, his heart softened and he agreed. Without further ado, Su Weifeng immediately took Feng Bao to see old man Mao. On the way, Su Weifeng learned that Mao had come to the central hospital to see an old professor. However, after describing the condition and explaining which experts he had consulted, the professor immediately shook his head. Some experts who were better than him had seen it and couldn't figure it out, let alone him. Moreover, he was also confused when he heard the condition. He had no impression of this situation in his mind. Mao Yang came out of the hospital disappointed. He didn't expect to meet the miracle doctor on the train. He didn't know whether Su Weifeng, the acupuncture doctor, could treat his grandfather, but he still held a glimmer of hope. Su Weifeng and Feng Bao got on Mao Yang's Maserati. The young people in the family liked this kind of sports car, but Su Weifeng and Feng Bao didn't think so. They were very similar in this regard. They both liked hardcore off-road vehicles. The engine of the Maserati roared and drove out of the hospital. Along the way, Mao Yang's Maserati was driving around, just like his mood. He wanted to go home as soon as possible. On the way, Mao Yang received a call from his father, Mao Chen. His father was in a bad mood on the phone and asked him where he was. Before Mao Yang said he would take Su Weifeng and the others back, his father told him to go back quickly, saying that he was still outside at such a late hour and his grandfather's condition might pass at any time. What should he do then? Su Weifeng smiled. He knew that Mao Yang's father must be worried about the problem of the old man losing his family property. How to divide it was a big deal. Mao Yang also felt the meaning of his father's words, and he felt a little embarrassed in front of Su Weifeng and Feng Bao. Under the powerful horsepower of the supercar, several people quickly left the city and came to a private hospital on the outskirts of the city. This hospital was also the property of the Mao family. Now it was closed directly and only served Mao Nan. This hospital is a 7-story building. Although it is not very large, it has a complete range of departments. Several people came to the inpatient department on the top floor, the 7th floor, and there was already a large circle of people in the corridor. These people include lawyers in suits, Mao Yang's old subordinates, his children, and bodyguards. Mao Yang has 10 children in his lifetime, and Mao Yang's father, Mao Chen, is the 5th son of Mao Nan, and his status in the family is not high. As soon as he arrived at the corridor, a man who looked a bit like Mao Yang and had a slightly anxious look on his face came over. It was Mao Yang's father, Mao Chen. "Where have you been? Who are they?" Mao Chen said with some displeasure. "Dad, do you still know him?" Mao Yang said, as if he was presenting a treasure, his eyes pointing at Su Weifeng fanatically. Chapter 748 Descendants of Huatuo. Mao Chen was stunned for a moment and didn't react for a while until he noticed Feng Bao and recognized them. Seeing his reaction, Su Weifeng was very upset. It seemed that he looked too common and everyone had to recognize Feng Bao to recognize him. But Feng Bao was indeed the type that could make men unforgettable at first sight. Feng Bao couldn't help but laugh out loud. Women all like to be praised for their beauty, but sometimes subconscious expressions are more pleasing than verbal praise. Today I went to the hospital to see Dr. Qin, and when I came out I happened to meet the miracle doctor. I begged the miracle doctor to come and treat Grandpa, Mao Yang said to his father. Mao Chen showed an embarrassed look on his face and said embarrassedly, "We have invited Master Hua from Shenzhen to treat the old man. Master Hua is already inside. It's a pity for both of you to come here in vain." Su Weifeng frowned and was a little dissatisfied. He didn't want to come in the first place, but he couldn't resist Mao Yang's repeated requests. He agreed to come because of the 100 million yuan. He was naturally unhappy to be chased away before he even saw someone he liked. Not only him, but Mao Yang also felt very embarrassed. After Mao Yang's persuasion, Mao Chen finally agreed to take Su Weifeng in, but this was not something he could decide. Now that his father was in a coma, it was not any of his sons who was in charge, but an old brother of Mao Nian, Uncle Niu. Uncle Niu fought for the country with Mao Nian, and was even more loyal to the Mao family. He had no children all his life and all his efforts were in the Mao family. Now that Mao Nian was in a coma, Uncle Niu wanted to help him take care of this last shift. Mao Chen brought Mao Yang and Su Weifeng to the front of the ward. A thin old man was standing at the door. Although the old man was thin, he seemed to have explosive power hidden in him. Su Weifeng narrowed his eyes and looked at the old man carefully. What a master. What do you want? Master Hua is treating inside. Don't go in and disturb him if you have nothing to do. Uncle Niu frowned and said with some dissatisfaction. Uncle Niu, this is a master of traditional Chinese medicine I specially invited from the mainland. He has excellent medical skills. I have witnessed it with my own eyes. I want him to help my father. Mao Chen was very polite to Uncle Niu and said seriously. Uncle Niu looked at Su Weifeng and then at Feng Baoer. There was obvious distrust in his eyes. It was not his fault. The older the doctor, the higher the medical skills and the richer the experience. This is the same for both traditional Chinese medicine and Western medicine. Su Weifeng is only in his 20s. How can he be so skilled in medicine? This master is not needed. Master Hua inside is treating old Mao. If Master Hua can't help, it's useless for him to go. Uncle Niu said with full energy. His meaning was very clear. There was a great master treating the patient inside. If he could cure the patient, there would be no need for Su Weifeng. If the master couldn't cure the patient, Su Weifeng wouldn't have to see him. There was no hope. Old man, you can't judge people by appearance. Who says that people with great medical skills must be old? They are all ordinary people. Geniuses are not in this category. She was not happy to see Uncle Niu's attitude. The girl is quite confident. Does that mean she is a genius? Uncle Niu didn't care about Feng Bao's title. If she still cared about such things at such an old age, she would have lived in vain. He pointed at Su Weifeng and said jokingly, I'm not a genius. I just happen to be able to treat some diseases, just like you happen to be poisoned. Su Weifeng said as he pointed his finger at Uncle Niu's throat. Uncle Niu was shocked. He didn't expect this guy to dare to attack him, and at such a fast speed. He felt that there was no killing intent in Su Weifeng's eyes, so he simply didn't dodge. But the people around were shocked, thinking that it was a killer sent by other families. After Su Weifeng pointed his finger at Uncle Niu's neck, his internal force directly penetrated through his finger. After a short pause, he quickly withdrew his hand, as if he had not moved at all. The people from the Mao family were about to rush up, and Uncle Niu vomited a black mass of stuff. When it fell to the ground, everyone looked carefully and saw a small black insect moving inside, which made everyone nauseous. After Uncle Niu vomited, he felt refreshed, and the stuffiness in his chest was swept away. The look in his eyes when he looked at Su Weifeng also changed. Thank you, Master. It's all thanks to you, Master. Otherwise, I wouldn't know I was poisoned. Uncle Niu became polite to Su Weifeng when he saw that he was really capable. What was that I just vomited? Was it a bug or something? I felt a tightness in my chest these past few days, but nothing else. Uncle Niu was very confused about his situation and asked Su Weifeng, your poison is very special. I've also encountered it abroad. The locals call this little black bug poison black. This little bug is not poisonous when it's in the egg state. You probably ate it in the egg state. But when it grows up, it will become more and more poisonous and feed on your flesh and blood. Fortunately, it's just one, and it was eliminated in time. You can take more anti-inflammatory drugs for a few days to reduce inflammation and you'll be fine. So that's what happened. Uncle Niu muttered to himself, but his brows were deeply furrowed. It was clear that someone was plotting against him, but who was this person? Can I go in and take a look? Su Weifeng smiled at Uncle Niu, who was in deep thought. Master, you can go in, but don't disturb Master Hua. Master Hua is checking. Uncle Niu now believes in Su Weifeng, but he obviously pays more attention to Master Hua inside. Who is this Master Hua? He sounds very powerful. Feng Bao couldn't help but say. This Master Hua is the descendant of the divine Dr. Hua Tuo. Divine Dr. Hua regards money as dirt. We also spent a lot of effort to invite him. PFFT, Hua Tuo, the legendary one who tasted hundreds of herbs. Feng Bao was shocked. Do you have any common sense? The one who tasted hundreds of herbs was Shening, and Hua Tuo was a divine doctor. Su Weifeng said, covering his head. Descendants of Hua Tuo, I really want to see them. Su Weifeng smiled. Hua Tuo is also considered the ancestor of traditional Chinese medicine. He also wants to see what kind of Master Hua Tuo's authentic successor is. Su Weifeng and Feng Bao were about to go in, but Uncle Niu stopped Feng Bao and looked at Su Weifeng with some hesitation. It was already a bit inappropriate to let Su Weifeng go in. This is my assistant. I need her help. Su Weifeng said hurriedly, and Uncle Niu let him go. He thought Feng Bao was Su Weifeng's girlfriend and just followed him. He didn't expect that she was Su Weifeng's assistant. Su Weifeng, Feng Bao, and the father and son of the Mao family walked into the ward and found that the ward was not what he imagined. He thought it was a single room, but after entering, he found that it seemed to be a hotel suite. Outside was the living room and bathroom, and inside was a bedroom of 30 to 40 square meters. There were several people from the Mao family waiting anxiously in the living room. Looking into the bedroom, there were 5 people surrounding the white-haired old man on the bed. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 749 Bet. 2 of the 5 people were wearing doctors' white coats, and they should be doctors in this hospital. A middle-aged man in casual clothes with a serious face looked a bit like Mao Chen. Through Mao Chen's introduction, Su Weifeng knew that this was Mao Chen's elder brother, Mao Nan, who was also the real power of the Mao family. The other 2 people were a blonde foreigner in a casual suit and a black-haired old man in a golden tank suit. The black-haired old man was holding a folding fan and looked calm. On the bed, there was an old man with grey hair, pale and ugly face, and eyes closed. Only from the slight rise and fall of his chest could we tell that he was still alive. Seeing Su Weifeng and others come in, Mao Nan frowned and glared at Mao Chen. Mao Chen shrank his neck, obviously a little afraid of this elder brother. He hurried to Mao Nan's side and whispered a few words in his ear. Su Weifeng could also feel the distrust of himself when he heard Mao Nan's low voice, but there was nothing he could do about it because he was too young. At this time, the blonde foreigner and the old man in tang suit also looked at Su Weifeng and the others suspiciously. From the whispered conversation between Mao Chen and Mao Nan, they also guessed that the young man who just came in was also here to see a doctor. As the saying goes, colleagues are enemies. The blonde foreigner and the old man in tang suit saw that another person came to steal their jobs, and their faces suddenly became unhappy. The old man in tang suit said unhappily, "Mr. Mao, who is this?" "Master Hua, this is the doctor my brother invited from the mainland, and he is also a great Chinese medicine practitioner." Mao Nan originally wanted to ask Su Weifeng to leave. He didn't believe that Mao Chen could invite any experts, but since the black-haired old man asked, he could only answer. This time Su Weifeng also confirmed that the old man in tang suit was the so-called descendant of Hua Tuo. He also looked at Master Hua. He had a full forehead, a rosy face, and a long key channel. He was indeed a very healthy old man, but it could be seen that there was no true qi flowing in his body, so it could be judged that he was just an ordinary person. "What do you mean? Do you think my Hua family's medical skills are not good? Then I won't waste your time. Goodbye." Master Hua was unhappy. He was very confident in his medical skills, and was proud of his status as the descendant of Hua Tuo. How could he be willing to be on equal footing with this young man whose hair had not even grown out? "What? Are you scared?" Su Weifeng used a trick to provoke him. Su Weifeng had studied psychology in the army. He knew that this kind of people were arrogant and proud, so provocation was the most suitable. Haha, what a joke. I, Hua Chunshan, have never been afraid of anyone in medical skills. I want to see whether it is the Yangtze River behind the waves pushing the old waves or the mouth is hairless and the work is not reliable. Then let me see Master Hua's exquisite medical skills. How about we set a bet? Su Weifeng suddenly thought of something and said with a smile. The young man is very arrogant, but this is a good idea. What do you want to bet on? Master Hua laughed and looked at Su Weifeng like an idiot. Is he crazy to bet with him on medical skills? Don't forget me, I'm going to bet with you too. The blonde foreigner was anxious and said in not very fluent Mandarin. This is Mr. Peter, a brain expert invited back from abroad. The doctors in our hospital suspect that the old man has a brain problem, which is why he is still in a coma. You yellow-haired guy, you're still betting with me. Do you have any medical skills? You can only use machines. You're more like a machine operator. Master Hua looked down on Western medicine. His conflict with Su Weifeng was at least an internal one, and his conflict with Peter was an external one. A cat that can catch mice is a good cat, whether it's black or white. Peter said stumblingly, and it was obvious that he was very knowledgeable about Chinese culture. Okay, then I'll see what kind of cat you are. What do you want to bet on, young man? Master Hua turned to Su Weifeng and said, we don't gamble, I believe everyone has money. Master Hua nodded in approval of Su Weifeng's words, but he was thinking in his heart that I don't lack money, but the more the better. I see that you don't have money, so I don't gamble, but I didn't explain it. Otherwise it would seem that I care about money and I have to maintain a high image. Our Chinese culture is broad and profound, and we emphasize that the one who is successful is the first. There must be a teacher among 3 people. Today we have 3 people, so let's bet on who can cure Mr. Mao. The loser will worship the winner as his teacher. Su Weifeng said confidently, smiling at Peter and Master Hua. Peter frowned. He didn't want to accept a Chinese apprentice, nor did he want to find a Chinese master. The most important thing is that these 2 people are both Chinese medicine practitioners, and they are not from the same school at all. Then he said he would not participate in the bet. You have a good idea. You want to become my disciple. It's not that easy to become my disciple. Humph. You came here just to take advantage of me. Master Hua narrowed his eyes and looked at Su Weifeng with disdain. Who said I would lose? What if I win? Do you dare to become my disciple? Su Weifeng used the method of provoking again. He also knew that it was really unattractive for him to become the disciple of this old man. If I lose, I will become your disciple. This is fine. It will never happen. But the condition of your losing is also good for you. Master Hua looked at Su Weifeng and thought to himself, am I so easily fooled? How about this? If you lose, you will become my disciple. If I lose, I will give you 100 million RMB. What do you think? Puff. Mao Nan, who was drinking water, spit out a mouthful of water. The reward for his family to treat the old man is only 100 million yuan, which is not a small amount for their family. Now is the period of economic crisis for the family. Withdrawing 100 million yuan will greatly affect the cash flow. The kid brought by Mao Chen bet 100 million yuan. What is his origin? Do you have 100 million yuan? If you lose and don't admit it, what's the use of my winnings? Master Hua said angrily. He thought Su Weifeng was just talking nonsense. Su Weifeng didn't explain, but took out his mobile phone and opened the change. He saw a full 9 digits, starting with 1. There are really more than 100 million yuan. It's not just Master Hua who was shocked. People also looked at Su Weifeng like a monster, and Mao Chen's heartbeat seemed to stop. The young man he met on the train turned out to be a billionaire. With Mao Chen's personal strength, he didn't have so much money. The most important point is that this money is in the change of the mobile phone. This bet made Master Hua really hard to refuse. The Mao family asked him to pay 100 million yuan for treatment. This is a big deal, which can be regarded as his highest treatment fee. Adding the 100 million from this guy, this trip would cost 200 million in consultation fees. This trip was worth it, so I happily agreed to it. However, I couldn't agree too readily, and I had to explain that I wasn't doing it for the money, etc. Chapter 750 Sewing Needle. You go first. kid, or you won't have a chance. Master Hua was afraid that if he cured Old Man Mao first, Su Weifeng would not admit it. You go first. You win if you cure him first. Don't worry, there are so many witnesses here, right? After Su Weifeng's speech, everyone present nodded in agreement. Master Hua also felt that it was unnecessary to be humble, so he simply agreed, but also let the blonde foreigner look first. In his opinion, the blonde foreigner couldn't see anything at all, so he quickly let him finish looking first, so as not to affect the bed between him and the kid. My 100 million RMB. Thinking about it, the corners of his mouth curled up unconsciously. Peter didn't hesitate and called the doctors in the hospital to give orders one by one. Blood draw, urine test, whole body court, whole body MRI, all the tests that can be thought of were all done. Then there was a long wait, but fortunately the whole hospital was serving the old man alone. Just when Master Hua was snoring, all the test results finally came out, piled up on a table in the ward. Peter looked at the test results with a smile, picked up a sheet and read it, nodding from time to time, then put it aside, and started to read the next one. When he read 1/3 of it, he stopped nodding and frowned. The Mao family immediately became nervous, but no one dared to interrupt. After reading half of it, Peter's eyebrows frowned even deeper, and his face was no longer full of confidence. After reading all the results, he sat down on the chair, looked at the test reports on the table, and stared at Mr. Mao on the bed in a daze. How is Mr. Peter? Mao Nan couldn't wait any longer and asked softly. Peter smiled bitterly and shook his head, saying, Mr. Mao's condition is too strange. He doesn't have any symptoms. All the test results are normal. Even the blood test reports are not over the standard. He should be very healthy. Peter's words touched the heart of the doctor in the hospital present. They had already done all the tests they could, but nothing was found. They were relieved that the famous foreign doctor didn't find anything. At least he wouldn't blame them. That's because your testing equipment is not good, and the test results are inaccurate. Peter suddenly said. He also wanted to save face and find an excuse. Mr. Peter, our equipment is the most advanced, imported from abroad, the doctor explained, and reported some equipment brands and models. When Peter heard that these equipment were indeed the most advanced, and with these brands, the results could not be wrong, he immediately lost his reaction. Master Hua, please come and take a look, please. Seeing that Peter had completely failed, Mao Nan was very disappointed and came to Master Hua expectantly. Watch it, kid. Master Hua took a look at Su Weifeng and came to the bed, lifted the quilt on the old man and observed him. As soon as Master Hua put his hand on Mr. Mao's pulse, he felt that it was beating sonorously and powerfully, not like the weak appearance of a comatose person. Not only did he touch his wrist, but also his ankle, and then he touched his whole body again. Master Hua's face was sweating. According to his examination, he could not find anything, except for a little key deficiency. There was no other problem. Key deficiency and blood deficiency are common in ordinary people, not a big problem, and it is impossible for him to fall into a coma. He was at a loss for a moment. Strange, it's really strange. Mr. Mao is in good health. I can't do anything. Master Hua said dejectedly. He now also felt Peter's sense of powerlessness. It's not that the condition is too serious, but that there is no abnormality at all. This is the most tormenting thing. Mao Nan shook his head and smiled bitterly. The famous doctors he had consulted before had the same result. He was used to it. It's just that this time Master Hua came. He was holding a glimmer of hope, but now it has failed. Thank you for your hard work. The consultation fee cannot be reduced. I will have someone call you later. Mao Nan began to see the guests off. Everyone forgot about Su Weifeng. Master Hua was now annoyed. He had forgotten about Su Weifeng. He didn't expect that he would fail, let alone Su Weifeng. Wait. Su Weifeng said calmly. Although his voice was not loud, everyone in this quiet room could still hear it. Little brother, don't look. Let the old man be quiet. Mao Nan was in a bad mood. Seeing Su Weifeng talking, his face was obviously impatient. How do you know he can't do it? What if he sees something? Feng Bao said unhappily. She was despised several times, and she was a little angry. Young man, you still want to bet? Then let him see. Otherwise you won't accept it. Master Hua said to Mao Nan with sarcasm in his tone. Seeing that Master Hua had also spoken, Mao Nan had to give face anyway, so he asked Su Weifeng to go over and take a look, but he had to be quick. If he couldn't do it, he shouldn't waste time. Su Weifeng ignored him, but his face became serious. Su Weifeng also put his hand on Mr. Mao's wrist. Seeing that he was also feeling the pulse, Master Hua sneered. I thought there was something special. It turned out to be feeling the pulse. I didn't see that you still wanted to try. I want to see what you look like when you fail. Su Weifeng's pulse feeding method was different from Master Hua's. As soon as Su Weifeng put his hand on the pulse, he injected the key into the meridians and carefully controlled the flow of the key. The key flowed through Mr. Mao's body and there was nothing abnormal. This was what Su Weifeng had expected in advance. At this time, Su Weifeng left Mr. Mao's wrist and covered the top of Mr. Mao's head with his hand, slowly injecting the key. This time he was more careful. The brain is different from other places. There is no muscle protection here. If you are not careful, it is easy to get into trouble. Young man, if you can't do it, then you can't do it. I can't see it. You don't have to pretend. You are feeling the fever there, and you are touching your head. Master Hua mocked. He had never seen a Chinese medicine doctor feel the pulse on the head. This is pretending. Don't talk. Feng Bao glared at Master Hua. Master Hua was about to reprimand Feng Bao, but saw that Su Weifeng had changed. At this time, beads of sweat had obviously appeared on Su Weifeng's head. Everyone was very curious. Master Hua also stared at Su Weifeng closely. Su Weifeng still held Mr. Mao's head with his right hand, and with his left hand he suddenly took out a silver needle that was more than twice as thick as an ordinary silver needle. This silver needle actually looked more like a sewing needle. When Su Weifeng took out such a thing, not only the doctor was shocked, but also Mao Nan, Mao Chen and other members of the Mao family were even more shocked. Can this needle be used to prick people at will? And it was such a thick needle. Anyway, if he used this needle to prick them, they would definitely not dare to prick them. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.